Chapter 8:13, Rank 3 Pill? As time passed, Huan Chuyo's expression changed a bit. Baili Hongzhuang had indeed been refining pills for a long time. Although Baili Hongzhuang hadn't finished the second-rank alchemist exam in the Alchemist Association, he believed that Baili Hongzhuang had already reached the level of a second-rank alchemist. Merely, most of the time required to refine a rank 2 pill was about the same. It was a bit strange that Baili Hongzhuang hadn't finished refining it for so long. The smile on Sang Hongxi's face grew deeper and deeper. Lu Qingyue was already destined to be Wei Hanyun's defeat. As for Baili Hongzhuang, she probably wouldn't even be able to complete it, let alone surpassing Wei Hanyun. Old Huan, your academy's Baili Hongzhuang seems to be a bit of a thunderous person. Sang Hongxi's voice was filled with ridicule and complacency. It was because he felt nervous because of Baili Hongzhuang's appearance earlier. From the looks of it, all his worries were unnecessary. Even if Azure Water School had achieved good results in the first 2 matches, so what? The most important thing for an alchemist was refining pills. What use was Baili Hongzhuang's ability to distinguish and refine medicinal ingredients? The more eye-catching the previous performance, the worse the results of the third round would be. No matter how much the Azure Water School wanted to achieve good results in this exchange competition, it was all in vain. Jian Qingqiu's face also revealed a smile. Although the Alchemy Competition Spirit Concealment Academy was probably the last place, the Alchemy Competition had never been an important event for the Academy. As long as Nangong Aochen defeated all his opponents tomorrow, the Spirit Concealment Academy would still be a glorious place. Hongzhuang's pills haven't been refined yet. What should we do? Xia Jiqing couldn't help but cross her hands, her eyes filled with worry. Hongzhuang was now the only hope of Azure Water School. Could it be that something unexpected happened during the process of refining pills? Bai Junyu frowned. If Baili Hongzhuang did not succeed at the last moment, that would be terrible. I don't even know the ending until the last moment. Gong Shaoqing slowly spoke. His usually cold and expressionless face was now faintly stained with a trace of bigotry. From the moment they arrived at Lingying College, it had already been a bitter battle. Until the last moment they would not admit defeat. Chu Jio and the other 2 exchanged glances. Surprise appeared in their eyes. According to their senses, there seemed to be no problem with the pills in Baili Hongzhuang's pill furnace. As for Baili Hongzhuang, she didn't make any mistakes in the process of refining. As such, it could only be said that Baili Hongzhuang needed a long time to refine the pill. Amongst rank 2 medicinal pills, there are not many medicinal pills that require such a long time. Lin Hao frowned slightly. This amount of time was comparable to the time required to refine a Tier 3 medicinal pill. Could this girl be refining a Tier 3 medicinal pill? Hearing Lin Hao's words, Bai Jingtian could not help but ask. He did not know anything about pill refinement techniques. However, if Baili Hongzhuang were to truly refine a rank 3 pill, it would be truly heaven-defying. This way, it would be even more difficult for him to snatch Baili Hongzhuang from the Inscription Association. Chu Jio shook his head slightly. With a light smile, he said, "No, judging from the fluctuations, Baili Hongzhuang is refining a rank 2 pill." Chapter 8:14, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort Geek, Baili Hongzhuang. Saying that, Chu Jio couldn't help but glance at Bai Jingtian. At this moment, she finally understood that Bai Jingtian was not paying ordinary attention to Baili Hongzhuang. Could it be? Baili Hongzhuang was the person Bai Jingtian was looking for when he came to Lingying Academy this time? She and Bai Jingtian had known each other for a long time. Ordinary people would not attract Bai Jingtian's attention. She really couldn't understand what was so special about Baili Hongzhuang that could attract Bai Jingtian's attention. Chen Yu did not notice Bai Jingtian's difference in attitude, and his eyes were constantly on Baili Hongzhuang. In my opinion, although Baili Hongzhuang's medicinal pill is a rank 2 pill, I am afraid that it is not far from a rank 3 pill. If Baili Hongzhuang can successfully refine it within the specified time, then she takes first place in the alchemy competition. If not, then Wei Hanyun takes first place. Chen Yu observed Baili Hongzhuang's every move. At this moment, everyone else had completed it and only Baili Hongzhuang was left refining. Usually under such circumstances an alchemist would be very nervous. However, from Baili Hongzhuang's demeanor, he could not see the slightest bit of nervousness. Baili Hongzhuang seemed to ignore all her surroundings, nothing affecting her in the slightest. For alchemists, this kind of mentality is extremely important, and this also reflected Baili Hongzhuang's self-confidence. Chen Yu suddenly discovered that he might have underestimated Baili Hongzhuang before, because the identity of Baili Hongzhuang as a cultivator was too confusing. It is not that there are no people who are cultivators and alchemists, Lu Qingyue is one like this, but in the end everyone will choose a path to focus on. However, this Baili Hongzhuang is an outlier. Not only did she develop both skills, but even achieved results in both areas that are difficult for others to achieve. Being able to become a rank 2 pharmacist at Lu Qingyue's age already amazed them, but Baili Hongzhuang seems to be a little younger than Lu Qingyue. If Baili Hongzhuang can really make a rank 2 pill that is close to a rank 3 pill, then her talent in pill making is simply unbelievable. This kind of skill level was achieved when Baili Hongzhuang was distracted by cultivation. If Baili Hongzhuang concentrated on alchemy, then her achievement. Qinyu couldn't imagine it. Thinking of this, Qinyu's eyes couldn't help but glow with a fiery light. If Baili Hongzhuang is really such a genius, he must have Baili Hongzhuang concentrate on alchemy. Ji Yunma also noticed the fiery look in Qinyu's eyes and couldn't help but secretly murmur, "This is bad." They understand this kind of fiery look well, as they will only do this after seeing exceptionally good seedlings. In fact, Ji Yunma's surprise was stronger than Qinyu's. He didn't understand what did this girl, Baili Hongzhuang, eat to grow up. Her level of cultivation is very strong, and her attainments in inscription are very outstanding. She even has mastered this alchemy technique. At her age it is impossible to master so many things even if she didn't sleep. However, Baili Hongzhuang has mastered it. But what he likes most are geeks like this. Baili Hongzhuang was engrossed in her pill refinement. Although Lu Qingyue and the others had already refined their pills, she was not nervous. From the moment she chose to refine the heaven-mending pill, she had already realized that such a situation would occur. Chapter 8:15, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort. This is going to blow up the furnace. The higher the level of the pill, the longer it takes to refine. After understanding the competition time limit, she had already calculated that there was time to refine the heaven-mending pill. Just when everyone decided that Baili Hongzhuang would not be able to finish the competition, suddenly, a refreshing medicinal fragrance emerged from Baili Hongzhuang's pill furnace. When they smelled this medicinal fragrance, everyone's eyes lit up. The medicinal fragrance seemed to be more intense than that of Lu Qingyue and Wei Hanyun. Greedily absorbing the medicinal fragrance, everyone only felt that under the effect of this medicinal fragrance, their bodies felt refreshed. After Huan Chuyu smelled the fragrance of the pill, his originally slightly solemn face once again glowed with glory. If he is right, Baili Hongzhuang made the heaven-mending pill. The heaven-mending pill is very famous among the rank 2 pills, and is also of great help to cultivators, but the pill formula of the heaven-mending pill is only in the hands of a very small number of alchemists. Even he had never mastered the heaven-mending pill recipe. Among the second-rank pills there are not many pills that can outperform the jade condensing pill, but this heaven-mending pill is one of them. As long as Baili Hongzhuang can complete the heaven-mending pill, then Baili Hongzhuang will become the well-deserved number 1. While Huan Chuyu was rejoicing, he also felt a bit of emotion in his heart. He thought that Lu Qinyue's ability in this alchemy competition was very likely to win, but he didn't expect that the final key would turn out to be Baili Hongzhuang. No one could guess this. Wei Hanyun's eyes changed a bit after smelling the fragrance of the pill. He really underestimated Baili Hongzhuang before, but he didn't expect her alchemy skills to be so exquisite. It seems that this time Kanglin Academy also used a method to blind everyone and make all of them focus on Lu Qingyue. In fact, Baili Hongzhuang is the real trump card. Fortunately, he was already prepared. Even if Baili Hongzhuang has mastered a higher level of alchemy, so what? As long as the pill cannot be refined, all of Baili Hongzhuang's efforts will be in vain. There was a look of excitement in Xiao He and Xiao Bai's eyes as the master's pill was about to be successfully refined. Guys like Wei Hanyun, kill them instantly. However, just when the pill was about to be successfully refined, Baili Hongzhuang suddenly frowned. Because she found that this pill furnace could not withstand the hottest temperature right before the pill is formed. In the process of alchemy, the highest temperature occurs before the pill is formed. According to common sense, even if the level of the heaven-mending pill is slightly higher than that of ordinary second-rank pills, it is impossible for this pill furnace to not withstand the temperature. Unless someone did something. At that moment, Baili Hongzhuang was sure that someone must have done something to her pill furnace. If it weren't for this, the pill furnace would definitely be able to withstand this temperature. Huan Chuyu and others also noticed the sudden change in Baili Hongzhuang's expression. Logically speaking, there should be no problem with the successful refining of Baili Hongzhuang's pill, but the sudden change in Baili Hongzhuang's expression indicated that something must have gone wrong. Kacha. A crisp and subtle sound came to everyone's ears, and the faces of Huan Chuyu and the others all suddenly changed. This is going to blow up the furnace. Chu Jio judged the situation immediately, but her expression was unbelieving. Alchemists are not strangers to explosions, but it is impossible for Baili Hongzhuang in this situation to blow up her furnace. Chapter 8:16, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor Unscrupulous Consort Shameless Conspiracy. What's going on here? There's something wrong with Hongzhuang's pill furnace? Zhang Yunfeng's expression changed. She didn't understand how such a problem could occur if the pill was refined well. Xia Jiqing and others felt a sudden tension. During this critical process of alchemy, if there was a problem with the alchemy furnace, wouldn't the elixirs that were about to be successfully refined also be ruined? Haha, how can a cultivator's alchemy be good? It's funny that the furnace is going to blow up. The cultivators of Lingyin Academy laughed mercilessly. The explosion of a furnace could only be caused by the lack of skill of the pill refiner. Baili Hongzhuang dares to participate in the alchemy competition with such a level of skill. Isn't it deliberately creating an amusement for us? I'm afraid Kanglin Academy will be disgraced now. The first 2 rounds are equal to this 3rd round, and she can't even make medicinal pills. After Xia Jiqing heard the conversations of the people around her, her face could not help but become ugly, and she immediately wanted to argue with them, but Cui Haoyan stopped her. There are so many people in Lingyin Academy, she wouldn't be able to win and it would just be a waste of time. Seeing this, Xia Jiqing's face was still filled with indignation, and she could only hold it in. She believed that this definitely was not caused by Hongzhuang. Someone must have done something to this pill furnace. Huan Chuyo's face turned gloomy. It was absolutely impossible for this pill furnace to be unable to withstand the temperature of the 2nd-rank pill, and the only explanation was that someone had tampered with Baili Hongzhuang's pill furnace. Before Huan Chuyu could speak, Chu Jio was the first to say, "Principal Jian, Baili Hongzhuang's pill furnace has been tampered with. This competition is not fair." Hearing this, a look of surprise appeared in Jian Qingqiu's eyes. Tampered with? How is this possible? But none of them could believe that this matter had nothing to do with Jian Qingqiu. This is Lingyin Academy, and this pill furnace was also supplied by Lingyin Academy. Who would believe that it had nothing to do with Jian Qingqiu? Principal Jian, it is too much for someone to deal with this type of situation. Huan Chuyu said with a cold face. If this change hadn't happened, Baili Hongzhuang, who was in first place in the alchemy competition at that time, would have been destroyed by the opponent's actions. As the vice president of Kanglin Academy, how could he bear it? Compared with Huan Chuyo's rage, Jian Qingqiu looked a little calmer, and deliberately put an apologetic look on his face. I don't know anything about this. Elder Huan, don't worry, I will definitely investigate. However, let's wait until the end of this alchemy competition to find the cause. It is not appropriate to leave the table now. As Jian Qingqiu's voice fell, Huan Chuyo's face became even more ugly. Jian Qingqiu's meaning was very clear. He will find out who did it, but only after the alchemy competition is over, when the outcome has already been decided. By then, even if Jian Qingqiu casually prevaricated behind the scenes, what would be the point? Everyone focuses on the final result. No one would care much about this conspiracy. This is equivalent to making Kanglin Academy suffer a loss in silence. However, what Jian Qingqiu said also irrefutable. Because they found out too late, it was impossible to repeat the alchemy competition. Chapter 8:17, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor Unscrupulous Consort by Jingtian helps Chu Jio's heart sank slightly, and there was a hint of sympathy in her eyes. They didn't expect that Baili Hongzhuang would be targeted like this. Now that it was the last competition, it could be seen from Jian Qingqiu's attitude that he would never in 100 years declare the 3rd competition invalid because of this. As a result, Kanglin Academy can only suffer from this loss in silence. Even if they all feel that Kanglin Academy is wronged, this is often the reality. It is not that they have never encountered such a situation. Competition is competition, and many people have lost due to such conspiracies. It's just that they didn't expect Lingyin Academy to be so bold. Even though they knew what was going on, they had no proof. Huan Chuyu tightly clenched his fists. The current situation made him feel so powerless. In fact, Kanglin's situation has been like this for years. Without strength, there is no ability to refute. Kanglin Academy does not have enough clout among the 3 academies, otherwise Lingyin Academy would not dare to be so blatant. It's nothing for him to bear this, but letting the students endure such an unfair attitude because of the powerlessness of the academy, how can he face Baili Hongzhuang? Both Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi didn't care. This world has always been like this, where the weak eat the strong and the fittest survive. With the current status of Kanglan Academy, they have no right to speak. Even if they are wronged, what could they do? Elder Huan, think about it. Lin Hao patted Huan Chuyu on the shoulder. In this situation they had no choice. Although Bai Jingtian had always hoped that Baili Hongzhuang would not be taken too seriously by the people of the Alchemist Guild, he could not bear to see such Lingyin Academy's attitude any longer. Baili Hongzhuang was a junior he greatly admired. How could he watch Baili Hongzhuang suffer such injustice? Since someone has tampered with Baili Hongzhuang's pill furnace, it proves that this competition is unfair, and it is natural to redo the competition. Otherwise, if the framed person can only suffer from the loss, then in my opinion, in the future academy exchange competitions, there is no need for real strength. Just think of ways to eliminate your opponents. Principal Jian, is this the purpose of the alchemy competition held by your Lingyin Academy? Bai Jingtian was unceremonious as he didn't regularly have much intersection with Lingyin Academy, and he didn't need bow down to Lingyin Academy. Since he couldn't stand it, he would be blunt. As Bai Jingtian's voice fell, Jian Qingqiu was dumbfounded. He couldn't understand why Bai Jingtian would suddenly speak up for Huan Chuyu. Yes, if it's not fair, let's compete again, otherwise the champion of this alchemy competition will be questionable. Ji Yunma also said. Baili Hongzhuang helped him solve a problem that he had never been able to comprehend. He hadn't had a chance to thank Baili Hongzhuang. Now that something like this happened, how could he keep silent? Although Qin Qingwu did not speak, he nodded in agreement. This is why he didn't like dealing with people like Jian Qingqiu. These people never value the truth and they use trickery behind the scenes. With his personality, he didn't know how many things he missed when he communicated with Jian Qingqiu and others, but this time, Lingyin Academy had gone too far. Jian Qingqiu was dumbfounded. What is happening? Chapter 8:18, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort who did it? It stands to reason that since Bai Jingtian and the others have no friendship with Huan Chuyu, they should not be helping him like this. Could it be that Bai Jingtian and the others are just plain blind? Thinking of this, Jian Qingqiu was speechless for a while. He only felt that Bai Jingtian and others had been absorbed in their research and did not know how to adapt at all. They were completely stubborn. The people present are all discerning people, and no one is unclear about what is going on here. The members of the Alchemist Guild had not spoken up, but the Inscription Guild Master had acted as a righteous person. Is this not finding trouble? Huan Chuyu also didn't expect that Bai Jingtian and the others who they had only met for the first time would speak up for Kanglan Academy and couldn't help but feel moved. Jian Qingqiu and Lin Yinghao looked at each other. This was really a dilemma. Had they known this would happen, they would not have invited Bai Jingtian and the others up. In this way there wouldn't have been such a mishap. Obviously regret is useless. After thinking for a moment, Jian Qingqiu said, "Let's take a look first." Baili Hongzhuang's expression had changed the moment she felt that the furnace was going to blow up. Before starting the alchemy, she had already checked the pill furnace and only started refining after confirming that the pill furnace was fine. It's just that she didn't expect the other party to hide his tampering such that she didn't feel the slightest problem, and it only appeared at the last moment. Ordinary people would not know how to do this, and the only person who would know this trick is an alchemist. Almost immediately, Baili Hongzhuang knew that this must be the work of Wei Hanyun. No wonder Wei Hanyun didn't say anything after suffering a loss in the previous round. He had already determined the result of this round. Thinking of this, a fierce look appeared in Baili Hongzhuang's eyes. She had always been someone who took revenge, and this matter would not be forgotten. Wei Hanyun's eyes lit up with pride. The explosion of a furnace is a very dangerous thing. If Baili Hongzhuang does not retreat immediately, the aftermath of the explosion would affect Baili Hongzhuang, likely causing a serious injury. However, once Baili Hongzhuang retreats, her medicinal pill will also turn into ashes. Boom. An explosion sounded, Baili Hongzhuang's figure flew quickly, and Lu Qinyue and the others also stepped back a few steps, avoiding the power of the explosion. Lu Qinyue's face was very ugly. This situation exceeded all of their expectations. The pills refined by Baili Hongzhuang were completely useless. In the end, this alchemy competition was lost. The smile on Wei Hanyun's face became brighter and more arrogant. Baili Hongzhuang, no matter how you pretend to be extraordinary, your refinement of pills still fails. Cultivators should do the things that cultivators do well, and as for the alchemist's affairs, you should stay out of it. Chu Jio and the others also sighed. This is the result after all. Wei Hanyun held his head high. He would take first place in this alchemy competition and his reputation will spread far and wide. Baili Hongzhuang is just a stepping stone for him. The expressions of Xia Jiqing and the others changed one after the other, and they exploded in anger. This had never happened in previous alchemy competitions. Damn it. As I see it, in all probability this Wei Hanyun is the one who tampered with Hongzhuang's pill furnace. Bai Junyu's eyes burned with anger. I knew from the first moment I saw this guy that he was no good. Chapter 8:19 Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort. This girl is incredible. The cultivators of Beihai Academy cheered. This round of victory belongs to them. Under the high platform, Gu Yaoi, who was originally in a depressed mood, also smiled with joy after seeing this scene. Even though her performance in the alchemy competition was unsatisfactory, Wei Hanyun won and Beihai Academy won, so she was also proud. Although the practitioners of Lingyin Academy knew that they were at the bottom, they were still happy, because the victory did not belong to Kanglin Academy. Just as Wei Hanyun was happily waiting for the alchemist judge to decide that he was first in the alchemy competition, Baili Hongzhuang's cold voice rang out. Wei Hanyun, it's too early for you to be happy. Hearing this, Wei Hanyun couldn't help being startled, but the smile at the corner of his mouth did not change. Baili Hongzhuang, what qualifications do you have to say such things to me as someone who hasn't even succeeded in refining a pill? Hongzhuang you? Lu Qingyue couldn't help but exclaim after seeing Baili Hongzhuang's situation. Her clear water-like eyes flashed with a strong color of incredulity. This was really unbelievable. The reason was that Baili Hongzhuang's hand was burning with flames, and in the middle of the flames, a round and full pill was in it. When Wei Hanyun saw the pill in Baili Hongzhuang's hand, he couldn't help but be stunned. How could this be possible? The pill furnace had already been blown up, but Baili Hongzhuang was able to save the pill. This was absolutely impossible. However, Baili Hongzhuang had evidence that nothing is impossible. Baili Hongzhuang's eyes rippled with cold light. It was not that simple for Wei Hanyun to use such tactics to defeat her. 1 second before the explosion of the pill furnace, she took the pill out from it. Even she was not absolutely confident. The temperature of the pill before it is baked is critical. Without the pill furnace, she can only use the flame to achieve this temperature. Fortunately, she succeeded. What qualifications does a despicable guy like Wei Hanyun have to take first place in the alchemy competition? She will not let such a despicable villain succeed. Everyone present was stunned, staring blankly at the flame in Baili Hongzhuang's hand. It was unbelievable. Chu Jio and others also widened their eyes. Baili Hongzhuang's move really exceeded everyone's expectations. Even they may not be able to save the pill before the furnace explodes, but Baili Hongzhuang did it. This alone was enough to prove how terrifying Baili Hongzhuang's control over the flame is. This girl is unbelievable. A smile appeared on Chu Jio's face. With this level of control of the fire, she had to sigh at Baili Hongzhuang's accomplishments in alchemy. Kanglin Academy has produced another genius pill refiner this time, and the extent of the surprise is the most they have seen in years. Huan Chuyu was also surprised at the sudden good news. Baili Hongzhuang's performance could only be described as perfect. The three, including Bai Jingtian, looked at each other. They didn't expect this girl to be so accomplished in alchemy that even they had to marvel at it. Jian Qingqiu, Lin Yinghao, and Cang Hongxi were the ones with the most ugly faces. It took them so much effort, yet they achieved this result. Baili Hongzhuang actually solved this predicament. Doesn't it mean that everything they did before was meaningless? Chapter 8:20 Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort test results. Under the shimmering golden sunlight, on top of the high platform, the woman in the white dress had a confident glow on her breathtaking and alluring face. Without moving her mind or body, Baili Hongzhuang dampened the flame, and then put the pill into the white porcelain bottle. Baili Hongzhuang shifted her gaze to look at Wei Hanyun, and an enchanting and charming smile lifted at the corners of her lips. Sorry I ruined your plan. As Baili Hongzhuang's voice fell, Wei Hanyun's face became extremely ugly. Baili Hongzhuang's words were like a slap to the face. He had calculated everything, but in the end he still lost to Baili Hongzhuang? Impossible. Even if your pill remains intact, the internal structure must have been destroyed. Wei Hanyun's eyes were filled with suspicion. He did not believe that Baili Hongzhuang could still salvage the pill under such circumstances. Perhaps Baili Hongzhuang just used this method to muddle through. Baili Hongzhuang shrugged and looked at Wei Hanyun with more than a hint of pity in her eyes. If that is what you think, you are destined for disappointment. Maybe Wei Hanyun's schemes could hurt others, but she would not give Wei Hanyun the opportunity. Baili Hongzhuang's hand shocked many people, and everyone's eyes were filled with astonishment as they couldn't believe what they saw. This Baili Hongzhuang is too powerful, this move is simply amazing. This is the first time I have seen such a thrilling event. At her level, refining pills should not blow up the furnace, As soon as those words were said, everyone who didn't already know the truth gradually understood. Baili Hongzhuang's pill furnace had been tampered with. With the successful refining of Baili Hongzhuang's pill, the three including Chu Jio slowly walked to the four contestants, including Baili Hongzhuang. Now that the last round of the competition ended, the final results would be decided by the three of them. The judges walked up to Qi Junan first and opened the white porcelain bottle on Qi Junan's table. Second rank pill, bone cleansing pill, the pill is round and color is uniform. Hearing Chu Jio's words, a smile appeared on Qi Junan's face, and he was quite satisfied with his performance today. Everyone in Lingyin Academy applauded after hearing that Qi Junan had achieved such a result today. At Qi Junan's age, being able to refine a second-rank pill showed his unlimited future potential. Immediately afterwards, Chu Jio and the other judges came to Lu Qinyue. After checking the pill refined by Lu Qinyue, a light of satisfaction appeared in Chu Jio's eyes. They had always admired Lu Qinyue, who has an outstanding talent for alchemy. Second-rank pill, Shenyuan pill, the pill is round and the color is uniform. Lu Qinyue showed a gentle smile. With her current strength, refining the Shenyuan pill was already considered very good, as this one had the highest level among the pills she had mastered. Qi Junan already understood the difference between himself and Lu Qinyue when he heard that Lu Qinyue refined the Shenyuan pill. This time in the alchemy competition he had taken a supporting role, and the victory had nothing to do with him. When the three including Chu Jio looked at the jade condensing pill that Wei Hanyun had refined confidently, a look of surprise also appeared in their eyes. Second-rank medicinal pill, jade condensing pill, the pill is round and color is uniform. Chapter 821, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort really did it. Although they did not view Wei Hanyun's behavior positively, they had to recognize Wei Hanyun's accomplishments in alchemy. Among the second-rank pills, the refinement of the jade condensing pill is already extremely difficult, which means that as long as Wei Hanyun continues to work, Wei Hanyun is not far from breaking through to become a third-rank alchemist. When everyone under the high platform stage heard about these pills, their eyes reflected doubt. They were all second-rank pills, so they didn't know how to compare them for the results. Fortunately, there were some alchemists from Lingyin Academy in the audience, and they immediately explained the difference between the three pills. Everyone's eyes stayed on Wei Hanyun. Currently, Wei Hanyun's performance is the best. Who cares about the jade condensing pill? The pill made by Hongzhuang will be the best, Shaoqing said firmly. She believed that Hongzhuang would definitely defeat Wei Hanyun, this despicable villain. Seeing Shaoqing's blind worship, Zhan Yunfeng smiled helplessly, but her eyebrows reflected a little worry. If Hongzhuang's pill furnace hadn't exploded, then it would be okay to say this. I'm just worried that the explosion of her pill furnace will have an impact on the pill. As Zhan Yunfeng's voice fell, Gong, Shaoqing and others' mood fell a bit heavier. They had also thought of this problem, but they still had a glimmer of hope in their hearts. Wei Hanyun sneered at Baili Hongzhuang. He didn't believe that Baili Hongzhuang could finish refining the pill if the furnace exploded. He was not intimidated. Baili Hongzhuang's words could not affect him at all. This Wei Hanyun is really an idiot. Xiaohe was looking at Wei Hanyun as if he was seeing an idiot. He had seen self-delusion, but he had never seen such blind self-delusion. He thinks that everyone is like him when he can't do it himself, but he won't be able to continue lying to himself in a little while. Xiaobai raised his eyebrows, waiting for when this guy would fall into complete despair. Chu Jio and the other judges stood in front of Baili Hongzhuang. Baili Hongzhuang's performance was too surprising. It's hard to judge. While Baili Hongzhuang's talent in alchemy has won their approval, they are also worried, will the pills saved by Baili Hongzhuang in this situation be ruined? As alchemists they understand what happens in an explosion. Although what Baili Hongzhuang did is theoretically feasible, it is very difficult to actually do it. Huan Chuyo's hands gradually folded. All this depends on Baili Hongzhuang. Compared to everyone's nervousness, Baili Hongzhuang was very indifferent. With a small smile on the corners of her lips, she handed the white porcelain bottle to Chu Jio. Seeing that Baili Hongzhuang was so confident, Chu Jio couldn't help but wonder, is there really no problem with Baili Hongzhuang's medicine pill? However, when Chu Jio opened the white porcelain bottle, a refreshing medicinal fragrance wafted out, filling her nose. Looking within, the pill was round and full without a single flaw. However, this is only the surface appearance and the internal qualities are unknown. However, as the Chu Jio and other two checked more closely, the three of them looked at each other with a hint of amazement in their eyes. Second-rank medicinal pill, heaven-mending pill. The pill is round with uniform color and is flawless. The last comment, flawless, showed the shock of Chu Jio and the other two. Baili Hongzhuang actually did it. Chapter 822, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort Kanglin Academy win. As Chu Jio's voice fell, the eyes of everyone present reflected shock. Xia Jiqing gave Bai Junyu a high five, her delicate face full of excitement. I knew Hongzhuang would be able to do it. At this moment even Gong Shaoqing's unchanging iceberg face showed a smile too. Baili Hongzhuang had created a miracle. Lu Huayan clenched his hands tightly, his eyes shining brightly. Baili Hongzhuang is really fighting for Kanglin Academy. Huan Chuyu slammed his fist on the table. He has not been so excited for many years. Baili Hongzhuang is really amazing. Lu Qingyue also had a shocked expression on her face. She was no stranger to the heaven-mending pill. She had heard Master mention it before, but Master did not have a recipe for the heaven-mending pill. Unexpectedly, Baili Hongzhuang not only has the pill recipe but also refined it. The Xianyuan pill she refined was only a middle-level second-rank pill, and Baili Hongzhuang's was close to a third-rank pill. All along she thought that Baili Hongzhuang's talent was similar to hers, but now it seems that Baili Hongzhuang's talent is much better than hers. Both her age and alchemy is better than her, and this gap is almost impossible to bridge. However, the most important thing is that the difficulty of the heaven-mending pill is higher than that of the jade condensing pill. This means that they won the alchemy competition. Kanglin Academy has won. Kanglin Academy, which had failed twice in a row, won. A smile appeared on Lu Qinyue's face. She was happy for the school's achievements, but her heart still felt a trace of loss. Impossible. Wei Hanyun's face changed suddenly. It's impossible. Under such circumstances, it is impossible for Baili Hongzhuang to protect the integrity of the pill. You must be mistaken. He absolutely could not accept this result. Hearing Wei Hanyun's words, Lin Hao's face took on a hint of coldness and said in a cold voice, "Are you questioning our judgment?" Even if he didn't believe it, he couldn't question the three alchemy masters. In this alchemy competition, the first place goes to Kanglin Academy's Baili Hongzhuang. Cui Haoyan and others shouted with happy smiles on their faces. Kanglin Academy won. Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongshi's faces were really ugly. They had been working out a foolproof strategy for so long, but they lost. Huan Chuyu glanced at Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongshi with a bright smile and said, "Principal Jian, I hope you can find out who is behind this." Hearing this, Jian Qingqiu glanced at Huan Chuyu gloomily, and for the sake of face he could only say, "Don't worry, I will definitely find this person. Then I will be relieved." Huan Chuyu chuckled and walked towards Baili Hongzhuang. Beihai Academy ended up having wasted their effort. "Hongzhuang, you're amazing." Xia Jiqing and the others rushed towards Baili Hongzhuang. This alchemy competition win is all thanks to Baili Hongzhuang's ability save the day. The corners of Baili Hongzhuang's lips rippled with a bright and sunny smile. She originally did not intend to participate in the alchemy competition, but by chance she took first place in the alchemy competition. The scene just now was so thrilling that our hearts were in our throats, haha. Cui Haoyan said with a smile. Very impressive. Gong Shaoqing also said. Wei Hanyun looked at Baili Hongzhuang indignantly, his heart unusually resentful, but the result had already been announced and there was nothing he could do. Chapter 823, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort News, Mo Yunjue. Feeling Wei Hanyun's resentful glare, Baili Hongzhuang shifted her gaze. She always felt that there was something fishy about this Wei Hanyun's appearance. Previously they had never heard that Beihai Academy had a top person like this, but he suddenly appeared today and was so well prepared. There was something fishy about him. However, so far she had not yet found any evidence. Fortunately, everything was not destroyed by Wei Hanyun's appearance. At that moment, Mo Yunjue also came to Baili Hongzhuang and said with a smile, "Hongzhuang, congratulations." Seeing Mo Yunjue appear, Xia Jiqing's voice rang out before Baili Hongshu could reply. "Young Master Mo, you're too late. You didn't see how impressive Hongzhuang's performance was." Xia Jiqing's face was filled with regret. She sighed with admiration. The scenes in the alchemy competition just now were absolutely wonderful. Hearing this, Mo Yunjue smiled faintly with a little regret in his expression. "I had some things to do, so I only could come here now, but I am also very happy to know the result." The next moment, Mo Yunjue handed a note to Baili Hongzhuang, and said with a faint smile, "I think you might need this." Baili Hongzhuang looked at Mo Yunjue's determined, handsome face, and a look of surprise appeared in her eyes. However, when Baili Hongzhuang saw what was written in the note, her expression changed. "Thank you. Many thanks." Baili Hongzhuang raised the note in her hand with a delighted smile on her face. Mo Yunjue's smile is still the same, his eyes still bottomless, deep black holes, but the smile on his handsome face was very charming. "Everyone, please don't leave yet, I have something to say." Baili Hongzhuang suddenly raised her voice, and everyone's eyes fell on Baili Hongzhuang, wondering what she was doing. Xia Jiqing and the others were puzzled. They didn't know what was written on the note that Mo Yunjue handed to Baili Hongzhuang. The alchemy competition was over, what else did Hongzhuang have to announce? The eyes of Huan Chuyu and others also fell on Baili Hongzhuang, but compared to the surprise of the others, Huan Chuyu seemed very indifferent. Since Baili Hongzhuang came to study at Kanglan Academy, she has never done anything out of line. He believed that Baili Hongzhuang must have her reasons for doing this now. Baili Hongzhuang spared a glance for Wei Hanyun, who couldn't help but be stunned, his heart faintly filled with a bad premonition. It's just that he has hidden everything very well and doesn't believe that Baili Hongzhuang can find out exactly what happened. Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi also looked at Baili Hongzhuang with evil eyes. They felt that this girl was too outstanding. Whether it is in the cultivator competition or the alchemy competition, Baili Hongzhuang's performance is too outstanding, which is not a good thing for them. At this moment, Baili Hongzhuang suddenly stopped everyone. Could it be that she is being arrogant? Baili Hongzhuang walked directly in front of Huan Chuyu and handed the note to him. She believed that Huan Chuyu would resolve this matter well. When Huan Chuyu saw the content on the note, his expression changed slightly, anger and dissatisfaction flashed, and when he looked at Jian Qingqiu and the two of them again, his face grew a little colder. Vice President Song, according to the information we received, Wei Hanyun doesn't seem to be a student of Baili Academy. Chapter 824, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort uncovering the conspiracy. As Huan Chuyu's voice fell, both Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi's expressions changed. "Elder Huan, what do you mean by that?" Jian Qingqiu asked tentatively, but a storm surged in his heart. They kept this matter very secret, and it should have been impossible for anyone to find out. There is no such person as Wei Hanyun on the Baili Academy team. Moreover, according to the information we have learned, Wei Hanyun seems to have previously been a student of Lingyin Academy. Huan Chuyu's voice did not have any restraint, and all the students present could hear it clearly. The expressions of the cultivators of Baili Academy changed a bit. In their hearts they knew best that there was no such person as Wei Hanyun at Baili Academy. In fact, the tutor greeted them last night and told them not to publicize this fact. They didn't expect it to be discovered by the people of Kanglan Academy today. Wei Hanyun studied at Lingyin Academy for only a few months before he left, so the current students may not have much of an impression of him, but I don't think it will be difficult to find witnesses. Huan Chuyu's voice was cold. Although he had always known that Lingyin Academy and Baili Academy colluded with each other, he never expected that they would use such a despicable trick in this academy exchange competition. All along, he felt that it should not be difficult to win first place in this alchemy competition with Lu Qinyue's strength. Who would have thought that there was the more powerful Wei Hanyun at Baili Academy whom he had never heard of? It turned out that this was all just a conspiracy between Baili Academy and Lingyin Academy. If it weren't for the appearance of Baili Hongzhuang, then the Kanglan Academy would have really fallen short. The audience was in an uproar. One by one, astonished looks fell on the four principals. This news was so explosive that they couldn't believe it. This is impossible, right? How could Wei Hanyun not be a student of Baili Academy? It's true that I haven't seen Wei Hanyun on the Baili Academy team before. Could it be true? Even if it is true, it must be Beihai Academy that is up to no good. It certainly doesn't have anything to do with our academy. Song Hongxi couldn't help but look at Jian Qingqiu. Previously Jian Qingqiu had repeatedly assured him that there would be no problems, so he used Wei Hanyun. Who would have thought that this news would be found by Kanglin Academy so easily? In this way Beihai Academy came to a difficult end. Xiao Lanmei looked at Song Hongxi, who was nervous on the high platform. A look of disgust appeared in his eyes, and he turned back to the dormitory. Because of a decision of the vice principal, the entire Beihai Academy was humiliated. Chu Jiao and the others appeared astonished. They had only felt very disgusted that Lingyin Academy had tampered with Baili Hongzhuang's alchemy furnace. Unexpectedly, Beihai Academy was even more outrageous, inviting outside help for this academy exchange competition? Xia Jiqing and others were stunned. They didn't expect the vice principal to announce such explosive news. Moreover, this news seems to have been brought by Mo Yunjue. Does this mean that the reason Mo Yunjue had not appeared today was because he helped them investigate the origin of Wei Hanyun? Without their knowledge, Mo Yunjue had done so much for them, which was a huge favor. Chapter 825, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort because I like you. When Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi fell silent, everyone already understood. In fact, Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi wanted to argue, but Huan Chuyu said it so convincingly, even if they had a lot of evidence they couldn't blindly refute it. Otherwise, once exposed, their situation would be even worse. Baili Hongzhuang's eyes also fell on Mo Yunjue. It was hard to imagine that Mo Yunjue had already known everything, and even helped them to find information about Wei Hanyun. What does Mo Yunjue actually do? The fact that Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi could become the heads of their schools proves that they are not fools. If they were not completely sure, they would never have done this. But just when they had sufficient confidence, Mo Yunjue was able to find out all this information, which was not an ordinary ability. It is impossible for a mere restaurant owner to investigate all of this, which can only mean that Mo Yunjue must have many hidden secrets. Master, this Mo Yunjue is very powerful. Wei Hanyun only appeared today. It only took Mo Yunjue a short time to find out Wei Hanyun's details, which proves that there must be a lot of people behind him. Xiao He had a serious look on his face. This was proof that Mo Yunjue's information network was very good. Baili Hongzhuang nodded slightly. It seemed that, just as she had always thought, Mo Yunjue was not a simple character. Restaurant owner should just be one of Mo Yunjue's identities. His true identity is even more unclear. It's just that she didn't understand why Mo Yunjue, who was initially a casual acquaintance, wanted to help her like this. Master, could Nangong Xiujie be the work of Mo Yunjue? Xiaobai pondered. Hearing this, Baili Hongzhuang was stunned for a moment, her dark phoenix eyes flashing with a bright light. What Xiaobai said was not impossible. Judging from the attitude of Nangong Xiujie towards Mo Yunjue at the first tower, there must be something special about Mo Yunjue, since Nangong Xiujie and the two people were quite afraid of him. With Mo Yunjue's strength, it should not be difficult to kill Nangong Xiujie. After all, when she first met Mo Yunjue had escaped the hands of Tun Yunmeng. Mo Yunjue had no reason to kill Nangong Xiujie at all. Unless it was for her. When this idea emerged, Baili Hongzhuang felt this is too unbelievable, this is simply not necessary. Although Baili Hongzhuang found it unbelievable, she had a vague intuition that this matter might have been the responsibility of Mo Yunjue. In the face of Baili Hongzhuang's scrutiny, the corners of Mo Yunjue's lips reflected a charming smile, and his coldly stern face smiled with a hint of sexiness. He was so open and generous, but it made Baili Hongzhu feel even more bewildered. Don't think too much, you just need to know that I have no ill will towards you, that's all. Mo Yunjue said slowly. He knew that Baili Hongzhuang had always been smart, and everything he has done has confused Baili Hongzhuang, but he didn't care. Baili Hongzhuang glanced at Mo Yunjue intensely. But, I don't understand. Mo Yunjue's smile deepened, he leaned over towards Baili Hongzhuang's ear and said, Are you sure you want to know the reason? Yes. Baili Hongzhuang didn't hesitate, she never believed that there was help for free. Because I like you. Chapter 826, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort, do you believe it? Immediately after those words fell, Mo Yunjue had already moved back to his original place. His handsome, cold face reflected ease and indifference, as if what he had talked about earlier was about the good weather today. Baili Hongzhuang froze and looked at Mo Yunjue in a daze. This reason? Do you believe it? Mo Yunjue asked. After thinking about it for a moment, Baili Hongzhuang shook her head. I don't believe it. Mo Yunjue said it so calmly so she felt that she couldn't believe it. It seemed to be a joke, or perhaps Mo Yunjue said it just for to get by. Because, after Mo Yunjue stated this reason, she indeed could not continue to ask. Mo Yunjue shrugged, unsurprised by Baili Hongzhuang's answer. His smile was still charming, but no one noticed the touch of seriousness and paranoia in Mo Yunjue's eyes. Principal Jian, Vice Principal Tsang, no matter what, you must give us an explanation on this matter. Huan Chuyo's attitude was tough. Over the years Lingyin Academy and Kanglin Academy had become more and more excessive. Although he knew about some things, he had never had any evidence. Now that he finally had the evidence, he naturally wanted to strike a blow against the arrogance of the two academies. Now that the two academies want to make Kanglin Academy lose ranking, he naturally didn't mind making the two academies suffer more. When Chu Jiao and others saw that Huan Chuyu was able to deal with Jian Qingqiu and others, they turned their attention to Baili Hongzhuang. They were very curious about Baili Hongzhuang. A cultivator that could possess such exquisite alchemy was a heavenly talent. Bai Jingtian and the others were obviously shocked by Wei Hanyun's matter. They only reacted after seeing the actions of Chu Jiao and the others. The biggest goal of their trip was Baili Hongzhuang. Baili girl, have you joined the Alchemist Guild? Chu Jiao asked with a smile. When Xia Jiqing and the others saw the three masters coming, they understood that the three masters must have a love for talents, and they immediately backed away. This was a great opportunity for Baili Hongzhuang. Hearing this, Baili Hongzhuang nodded lightly with a smile. I joined the Alchemist Guild in Kanglin City. Huan Chuyu and the other three nodded slightly. It seems that Elder Huan's movements were not slow. Such talents should indeed be recruited into the Alchemist Guild earlier. Qinyu was very optimistic about Baili Hongzhuang and said with a smile, Baili girl, your attainment in alchemy is so outstanding, it would be a waste to be a cultivator. In my opinion, you might as well concentrate on learning alchemy like Qinyu. Your future prospects will be even brighter. If you do not have a tutor, I am willing to teach everything I have learned in my life. Qinyu had not watched Baili Hongzhuang, thinking that Huan Chuyu found such a good disciple as Lu Qinyu. At that time he was envious. He is not young anymore and just wants to find a disciple who can inherit his mantle. Baili Hongzhuang's talent is truly outstanding. As long as she guides her well, her future achievements will be great. As Qinyu's voice fell, the students present all looked at Baili Hongzhuang with envy. This is too lucky. Master Qin is famous in Qingxiao country, and his alchemy is outstanding. It is said that he is not far from becoming a fifth-rank pharmacist. It was unknown how many young practitioners wanted to worship Qinyu as their master, but Qinyu had never accepted a disciple. Unexpectedly, when he saw Baili Hongzhuang, he took the initiative to mention it. Chapter 827, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort. I've got my eye on the Baili girl. Baili Hongzhuang's luck is really enviable. As long as she can become Master Chen's disciple, she will be famous in the future. Yeah, we don't have the good luck of Baili Hongzhuang. Gu Yaoi and others' eyes flickered with a glint of envy or jealousy. If Baili Hongzhuang hadn't grabbed their limelight in the alchemy competition, maybe the disciples of Master Chen would have been them. Wei Hanyun's face was even more ugly. This was also one of his goals. As long as he finds a famous master, his future will take a prosperous path, but now it has been snatched away by Baili Hongzhuang. However, as soon as Qinyu finished speaking, Lin Hao's voice rang out, Elder Qin, it's not very kind of you to do this. Lin Hao gave Qinyu a discontented look. He had not expected Qinyu to move so quickly, actually wanting to take Baili Hongzhuang as a disciple first. Like Qinyu, he has always wanted to accept a disciple, but he had never found a suitable candidate. He likes Baili Hongzhuang overall. Baili Hongzhuang's talent and character are first class. He immediately accepted his fondness for a disciple, and he naturally couldn't allow her to be taken away by Qinyu. Baili girl, this old guy, Qinyu, is not as good as me. Why don't you become my disciple? Lin Hao, why do you like to compete with me in everything? Qinyu looked at Lin Hao with dissatisfaction. He finally managed to find such a good disciple, and Lin Hao wants to rob him? Absolutely impossible. What do you mean by that? This is something I've been thinking about for a while. You just spoke up a few minutes earlier than me. There was a bit of displeasure on Qinyu's face. He turned to look at Baili Hongzhuang again, but with a smile on his face. Don't pay attention to this old guy, girl Baili, I'm better than this old guy. Seeing Qin Yu and Lin Hao vying against each other, the jaws of the student onlookers couldn't help but drop, their eyes filled with disbelief. What are they seeing? In the past, alchemists wanted to be disciples of Master Qin and Master Lin but couldn't. Now it turns out that it is Master Qin and Master Lin competing to be the Baili Hongzhuang's teacher? This world is too fantastical. Why are all the good things going to Baili Hongzhuang? Xia Jiqing and the others also smiled while sighing. At Qin Yu and Lin Hao's age they were able to fight over Baili Hongzhuang, which shows how much they value Baili Hongzhuang. You two old fellows, I've got my eye on the Baili girl. At this moment, Chu Jio's words stunned Qin Yu and Lin Hao. They had forgotten that Chu Jio had also been looking for a suitable disciple. The two of them had liked Chu Jio for many years, and since Chu Jio spoke up, they had no choice but to reluctantly give up. Seeing this scene, everyone who knew the inside story couldn't help laughing. Chu Jio and the three of them were usually high and mighty, but now they are competing for one apprentice. How great was Baili Hongzhuang's face? Baili Hongzhuang did not expect such a situation and was not even allowed to speak. Several masters had already made their own decisions. Just as Baili Hongzhuang was about to speak, Bai Jingtian and the others also came over. Seeing the three, including Bai Jingtian, Baili Hongzhuang had a look of surprise in her eyes. She had never imagined that the inscription masters she saw in Wubao Pavilion would also be in Lingyin Academy today. What kind of weirdness is this? Without waiting for Baili Hongzhuang to say hello, Bai Jingtian looked at Chu Jio and other two and said, "What are you robbing? Baili girl is really promising for the path of inscription master. Alchemy is a complete waste of her talent." Bai Jingtian had a reluctant expression on his face. They came from the Wubao Pavilion specifically for Baili Hongzhuang, but Chu Jio and the others actually wanted to take the lead in snatching Baili Hongzhuang away. That was absolutely impossible. As Bai Jingtian's voice fell, Chu Jio and the others were also stunned. What was Bai Jingtian saying? Elder Bai, are you not mistaken? Baili Hongzhuang is clearly a genius alchemist. What does she have to do with being an inscriptionist? Chen Jinyu looked at Bai Jingtian in confusion. How amazing was Baili Hongzhuang's performance in the alchemy competition today? Inscription has nothing to do with it at all. Only Chu Jio vaguely understood. Previously, she felt that Bai Jingtian and the other two paid special attention to Baili Hongzhuang. Now it seems that they really came for Baili Hongzhuang. Baili Hongzhuang's alchemy technique is so superb. How could she be associated with the inscription technique? Is it possible that Baili Hongzhuang can do both? When this idea came to Chu Jio's mind, she thought it was ridiculous, it was simply impossible. As a cultivator, Baili Hongzhuang's attainment in alchemy is already extremely impressive. If Baili Hongzhuang can also write inscriptions, there is no way in the world such a thing exists. How could I be wrong? We've been looking for Baili girl for a few days. Baili girl's future in inscription is definitely better than her future in alchemy. Bai Jingtian puffed up his chest, his face reflecting the hardships of life, full of seriousness and perseverance. How can an alchemist be as rare as an inscriber? The question that the three old guys couldn't figure out, Baili Hongzhuang could actually solve in one sentence. So it was clear that Baili Hongzhuang's attainment in inscriptions was not lower than theirs at all. What kind of talent is this? At first they found it hard to believe, but now they accepted the fact that there is such an existence in this world. Elder Bai is right, girl Baili is definitely a genius inscriptionist. Ji Yunma also spoke out. Although they normally have a good relationship with Chen Yu and the others, at a time like this, they were in the inscription master's camp. Everyone in the room was completely petrified. Who are Bai Jingtian and Ji Yunma? They are real inscription masters. Everyone in the room wants their inscriptions, but the three inscription masters rarely took action, and buying inscriptions is more difficult than buying pills. But now they are all vying to make Baili Hongzhuang their disciple? Who is Baili Hongzhuang? Why does all the good luck come to Baili Hongzhuang? My God, isn't Baili Hongzhuang a cultivator? Why does she know how to refine pills and inscribe? A cultivator spoke out in a daze. From the conversation with Bai Jingtian and others, he was able to understand that Baili Hongzhuang's attainments in the art of inscription is also amazing. How can there be such a strange person in this world? How can we compare to her? Inscriptionist, Baili Hongzhuang is also an inscriptionist? I finally understand why Baili Hongzhuang was able to take out so many inscriptions yesterday. She is an inscriptionist. With these words, everyone suddenly realized that the inscription that Shaoqing had been showing off was actually painted by Baili Hongzhuang. Chapter 829, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort. This is definitely a blow. Shaoqing, who was already hit hard, almost spat out a mouthful of blood after hearing about it. This is definitely a blow. A blatant blow. He was so proud of an inscription, but Baili Hongzhuang was the one who made the inscription. Thanks to his previous mocking of Baili Hongzhuang, didn't he slap his own face? He even broke everyone's trust for this inscription from Baili Hongzhuang. As soon as he thought of this, Shaoqing's face burned with embarrassment. In this life, he's afraid that he will never have the face to meet Baili Hongzhuang. He had never been so humiliated. Shaoqing didn't stay to watch the excitement, otherwise it would only allow everyone to freely make fun of him. At that moment, Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi also noticed what was happening between Baili Hongzhuang and the others. When they heard what Bai Jingtian and others were arguing about, their faces reflected shock and dismay. The news that Baili Hongzhuang is not only a cultivator but also an alchemist had given them a huge shock, and now the news that Baili Hongzhuang is also an inscriptionist has come out. What was this all about? Could it be that Baili Hongzhuang had already started learning while in her mother's womb? As principals of their academies, they have seen many outstanding students, but they had never seen a student as perverse as Baili Hongzhuang. With the identity of Bai Jingtian and others, it is naturally impossible for them to lie because there's no need. Both Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi were envious of Kanglin Academy. Originally, Kanglin Academy was already weak, but they did not expect them to recruit a talented student like Baili Hongzhuang. Is it possible to turn the tide with the power from one person? Is this God's will? Huan Chuyu was no less surprised than Jian Qingqiu. This whole time he only knew that Baili Hongzhuang was an alchemist, but he had never heard that she had made great achievements in inscriptions. Baili Hongzhuang's talent was hidden deeply. He couldn't even imagine what Baili Hongzhuang's master was like. The energy and resources spent to cultivate a disciple like Baili Hongzhuang must be enormous. The eyes of Xia Jiqing and the others reflected disbelief. They were so familiar with Hongzhuang but didn't know that Baili Hongzhuang was an inscriber. Although Baili Hongzhuang's performance at the Wubao Pavilion showing that she knew about inscriptions shocked them that day, they never thought that Baili Hongzhuang could be an inscription master. Because it's so unbelievable. Although Baili Hongzhuang had given them so many inscriptions yesterday, they still didn't think of this. However, this unbelievable situation turned out to be true. What kind of beast is this teammate they have known for so long? The dark inky eyes flashed a strange color after the always calm Mo Yunjue found out about this. Mo Yunjue's lips curled slightly. It seemed that he constantly underestimated Baili Hongzhuang. Baili Hongzhuang watched the several seniors arguing over her, and a bit of helplessness surfaced on her charming face. Seniors. As soon as Baili Hongzhuang spoke up, the four, including Bai Jingtian, stopped arguing and looked at Baili Hongzhuang. They wanted to know what Baili Hongzhuang's thoughts were. Facing the 6 pairs of eyes staring at her, Baili Hongzhuang could only bite the bullet and say, "Thank you for your acceptance, seniors, but I do not have plans to accept a master." As soon as these words emerged, everyone was stunned again. How could Baili Hongzhuang refuse such a good opportunity? Chapter 830, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort Rejected? Baili Hongzhuang's delicate and beautiful face was slightly apologetic as she knew what was best for her in her heart. With her previous achievements in alchemy, she didn't need a master at all. As for the inscription technique, she only needed to learn from the old man in the Chaos Ring. Whether it was Chu Jiao and the other alchemists or Bai Jingtian and the other inscription masters, they had already put down roots in the Qingshao kingdom. It is impossible for her to stay in Qingshao kingdom, not to mention she didn't have the slightest affection for Qingshao kingdom. The actions of just Nangong Yujin and Nangong Xiujia disgusted her, and she will leave Qingshao kingdom after the academy exchange competition is over. Therefore it is impossible for her to apprentice here. Listening to Baili Hongzhuang's words, Bai Jingtian, Ji Yunma and Qin Qingwu all had smiles on their faces. "Baili girl, you did the right thing," Bai Jingtian exclaimed. Baili Hongzhuang was taken aback, not understanding what Bai Jingtian meant. The 3 of alchemists also frowned. In their opinion, as long as they were willing to accept a disciple, they wouldn't refuse, but Baili Hongzhuang refused decisively. The people who were originally envious of Baili Hongzhuang now only felt that Baili Hongzhuang was a fool after hearing her answer. Baili Hongzhuang actually gave up such a good opportunity. Only a fool would refuse. Baili Hongzhuang is too arrogant. She chose to give up such a good opportunity. She will definitely regret it in the future. In my opinion, she is proud and arrogant. She doesn't know how stupid she is. This is also a good thing. This kind of person isn't worthy of Master Chen and the others' consideration. The cultivators of Lingyin Academy all gloated. They were previously envious when they saw Baili Hongzhuang's good luck. Now that Baili Hongzhuang has given up this opportunity herself, they are in the same position again. However, what Bai Jingtian said next stunned everyone again, and their faces grew even uglier. Baili Girl's inscription skills are so superb, even the three of us agree that we can't be Baili Girl's masters, and can only forge a long-term friendship between equals. Bai Jingtian glanced at the Chu Jio and the others. You three old guys want to be Baili Girl's master, what are you trying to do? Chu Jio and the other two were stunned. In their opinion, even if Baili Hongzhuang is a genius, her ability in inscriptions is at best comparable to her ability in alchemy. Now Bai Jingtian actually said that Baili Hongzhuang's inscription skills are at the same level as theirs, so how powerful are Baili Hongzhuang's inscription skills? Although Bai Jingtian and the other two have very strange temperaments, they also know that they never lie. Since they say this, then it's the truth. At that moment, Chu Jio and the others were no longer displeased by Baili Hongzhuang's rejection. Baili Hongzhuang is already a master of inscriptions. How could they still accept Baili Hongzhuang as a disciple? They can only be equal with Baili Hongzhuang. Lin Hao felt that this was too unbelievable, so he couldn't help asking, Elder Ji, is what Elder Bai said true? Ji Yunma nodded without hesitation. Yes, the Baili girl solved a problem that had been plaguing us a few days ago with one sentence. Lin Hao and others were shocked. It seemed that they still underestimated Baili Hongzhuang. She can actually direct Ji Yunma and the others. How terrifying is this? Telling the truth but no one believes it? For a while, the look in everyone's eyes changed again as they stared at Baili Hongzhuang. At Baili Hongzhuang's age she can be called an inscription master. How could there be such a pervert in the world? Baili Hongzhuang also did not expect Ji Yunma and the others to misunderstand her ability. In fact, she is only proficient in the configuration of the inscription liquid, and she is a true beginner in drawing inscriptions. Who let Ji Yunma and others debate that day about the configuration of the inscription liquid? She has studied with the old man of the Chaos Ring for so long and has only mastered the configuration of the inscription liquid. The old man of the Chaos Ring obviously intended to have Baili Hongzhuang learn the basics by starting with the configuration of the inscription liquid. Who would have thought that such a misunderstanding would occur? Ji Lao, it's not like you've said, my inscription skills are actually... Not waiting for Baili Hongzhuang to finish speaking, Ji Yunma said, now you know how strong Baili Hongzhuang's inscription skills are, right? If she studies the inscription technique wholeheartedly, her future will be limitless. Hearing this, Chu Jio and the others looked at each other. They were amazed by Baili Hongzhuang's ability in alchemy, but they had no way to refute what Ji Yunma said. Inscription technique should be the direction of Baili Hongzhuang's development. Actually, my inscription skills are not that good. Baili Hongzhuang couldn't help but say. It's just that at such a moment, no one believed what Baili Hongzhuang said and only thought Baili Hongzhuang was being modest. Baili girl, don't be humble. It just so happens that we old guys still have a few questions to ask you for advice about inscriptions. If you have time now, can you come to Wubao Pavilion with us? Qin Qingwu smiled broadly. They came to Baili Hongzhuang this time so that they could have a good discussion on inscription techniques. Inscriptions are like this. It is easy for one person to get cornered when studying it alone, and only when everyone is together can they open their minds. With Baili Hongzhuang's strength, she will surely be able to bring them considerable gains. Elder Qin, my inscription skills are really not that good. Baili Hongzhuang said helplessly. If the discussion is about the configuration of the inscription liquid, it is fine, but if it's about how to draw inscriptions, then she is really a beginner. This girl is too modest. Bai Jingtian chuckled, not believing Baili Hongzhuang's words at all. He turned around and said to Chu Jio and the others, we have some questions to ask Baili girl, so we'll leave first. Baili Hongzhuang could not stop Bai Jingtian's enthusiasm no matter how she argued. Bai Jingtian and the others had obviously decided that she was hiding deeply. Baili Hongzhuang was very helpless. No one believed the truth. After Baili Hongzhuang was pulled away by Bai Jingtian and the others, only Xia Jiqing and her group were left blowing in the wind. The students of Lingyin Academy only felt that the world had gone crazy. Baili Hongzhuang was actually an inscription master. How can this be endured? The alchemy competition thus came to an end, but Huan Chuyu obviously wouldn't let the existence of Wei Hanyun go. He would definitely grab hold of this issue. Therefore, the three principals deliberated for a while. When Huan Chuyu walked out, a satisfied smile appeared on his face. Obviously, the three principals must have reached an agreement. Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi had extremely ugly expressions on their faces. In this alchemy competition they really lost their wives and lost their soldiers. TL/N. Idiom means to suffer a double loss after trying to trick the enemy. Breakthrough Gong Shaoqing. When Baili Hongzhuang came back from the Wubao Pavilion, she was surrounded by Xia Jiqing and the others. Sensing the dissatisfied gazes of Xia Jiqing and the others, Baili Hongzhuang couldn't help but say, "What are you thinking?" Xia Jiqing smiled and said with narrowed eyes, "Hongzhuang, you are hiding too deeply. You have kept us in the dark. If it weren't for Master Bai and the others speaking up about this, we would not have found out this information." Zhang Yunfeng continued. "You didn't ask me either." Baili Hongzhuang opened her hands out innocently. She never planned to hide it, but she wouldn't deliberately tell everyone that she was an inscriptionist. That would just be showing off. Seeing Baili Hongzhuang's innocent appearance, everyone was helpless who would think to ask such a question. "No matter, anyway, it was wrong of you to conceal this. We are very vindictive," Xia Jiqing said with a smile. Hearing this, Baili Hongzhuang's gaze swept across Xia Jiqing and the others one by one, and slowly said, "So, are you planning to return my inscriptions to me?" When this was asked, the faces of Xia Jiqing and the others all changed slightly, and they immediately took a step back. "It's getting late, I'd better go back to cultivate first." Xia Jiqing was the first to bolt. She had already used the inscription Hongzhuang gave her. "Jiqing is right, I'm going to go back and cultivate properly." Zhang Yunfeng also slipped away immediately. They already used them, so how could they return these treasures to Baili Hongzhuang? Soon after, everyone left one after the other. Only Gong Shaoqing was still standing in place. Baili Hongzhuang raised her phoenix eyes slightly, and she silently asked herself, could it be that Gong Shaoqing wanted to return the inscription to her? "I'm also going back to rest, I have to participate in the finals tomorrow." After saying this, Gong Shaoqing also disappeared in front of Baili Hongzhuang. Seeing this scene, Baili Hongzhuang couldn't help but laugh softly. She felt really happy to have met such a group of friends. The next day, just as the day dawned, Baili Hongzhuang and the others got up. Today was the finals of the cultivator competition, and it is also the most important round of this academy exchange competition. After everyone gathered, Huan Chuyu led everyone towards the royal competition arena. The last final would be held at the royal competition arena, which will attract a lot of attention. The emperor of Qingshao Kingdom as well as royal relatives and other powerful people will be there in person. Ordinary civilians are no longer allowed to watch this competition, and it is for this reason that everyone attaches great importance to it. Baili Hongzhuang's gaze fell on Gong Shaoqing, and a look of surprise appeared on her pretty face. "Gong Shaoqing, have you broken through?" She clearly felt that Gong Shaoqing's breath was much stronger than before. He had clearly broken through from the late mysterious realm to the innate realm. Gong Shaoqing nodded slightly. "It's just a fluke that I just broke through." Baili Hongzhuang took a deep look at Gong Shaoqing. She knew how much importance Gong Shaoqing attached to this final. From the moment Dongfang Yu was hit, Gong Shaoqing's heart had been extremely subdued. Taking this opportunity to finally break through to the innate realm would be a great help for today's final. As Baili Hongzhuang's voice fell, everyone looked at Gong Shaoqing in surprise. This is great news. Chapter 833, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor Unscrupulous Consort Breakthrough, Third Stage Red Realm. Cui Haoyan looked at Gong Shaoqing in amazement. He had always competed with Gong Shaoqing, but he never thought that Gong Shaoqing would break through to the innate realm earlier than him. Although he hadn't crossed into the innate realm, he understood that the gap between the mysterious realm and the innate red realm is not a minor step. It seems that he must improve his strength as soon as possible. He didn't want to lose out to Gong Shaoqing. "Baili Hongzhuang, didn't you also break through to the third stage of the red realm?" Lu Huayin turned around with a smile. Seeing that the students were able to make such progress put him in a good mood. Other students couldn't see it, but as a tutor, he was able to see Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing's progress with just a glance. It seems that both of them attach great importance to this final, and it is precisely because they place enough importance on it that they can break through. With Lu Huayin's question, everyone's eyes couldn't help but fall on Baili Hongzhuang, not expecting her to have broken through again. Hongzhuang, your speed of improvement is too fast, it's too much for us. Zhang Yunfeng looked helpless. Baili Hongzhuang was the youngest one among them, but he didn't expect her cultivation to be the fastest, which was really a blow. Baili Hongzhuang smiled lightly, it's thanks to the yuanli fruit I got in the ruins, otherwise I wouldn't have made such fast progress. With her talent in cultivation, the speed of cultivation would not be slow, it's just that the amount of time she has cultivated was shorter, so there was still a considerable distance to catch up. Zhang Yunfeng and others smiled, they understood that Baili Hongzhuang was being modest. The ruins naturally helped her, but Baili Hongzhuang was able to reach this level due to her own efforts. With Huan Chuyu leading, Baili Hongzhuang and the others finally arrived at the royal competition arena, but after seeing the grandeur of the royal competition arena, everyone's eyes flashed with amazement. This royal competition arena is similar to a huge gladiatorial arena, with a giant square competition stage in the center made of extremely hard rock and surrounded by railings. Near the vicinity of the railing, Baili Hongzhuang felt faint energy fluctuations. There was obviously a protective shield near the railing. Once the energy fluctuations on the competition stage are too great and are threatening, the shield will immediately activate to ensure that bystanders will not be affected. Around the competition stage is a circular step platform, and all the onlookers sit on the step platform to ensure that everyone can clearly see the battle on the competition stage. Currently, the stands was already full of spectators, and such a scene could only be described as spectacular. After Xia Jiqing and the others saw this scene, a look of astonishment appeared on their faces. The Qingshao Kingdom's royal family is extraordinary. This competition arena is truly spectacular. Bai Junyu said with emotion. Gong Shaoqing glanced coldly at the martial arts arena. This looks like watching a monkey perform tricks. Baili Hongzhuang did not say anything, but she also agreed with what Gong Shaoqing said. The people sitting in the stands are all dignitaries of the Qingshao Kingdom, and their final is just a show in the eyes of these people. She doesn't like this feeling, but many people like this feeling of being in the spotlight. Gear up, Baisher. Turning her gaze slightly, Baili Hongzhuang noticed that Mo Yunjue was sitting in the stands. Dressed in black, understated and reserved, his black clothes were embroidered with a lifelike silver-threaded chrysanthemum. He sat quietly in the crowd and completely blended in, but if one sensed carefully he seemed out of place. Seeing Baili Hongzhuang, the corners of Mo Yunjue's lips slowly curled up into a smile. This was his way of greeting. Baili Hongzhuang returned a faint smile. Even though there were many things she didn't understand, she believed that Mo Yunjue was a friend and not an enemy. Cui Haoyin and the others also noticed where Mo Yunjue was and raised their hands to Mo Yunjue. Mo Yunjue was their only friend in the Qingshao Kingdom. The teams from the 3 major academies all arrived today, but only the 4 finalists participate in the competition. However, the royal family of Qingshao Kingdom had not yet arrived, including the one who was praised by everyone, Nangong Aochen, who had not yet revealed himself. The royal family of the Qingshao Kingdom is really arrogant. The finals are about to start and they haven't shown up yet. Do they like to use such pomp and circumstance to prove their greatness? Xiaohe cocked his head. What he hates the most is the bone-deep arrogance of the royal family. No matter when or where, they are always the last to appear, as if this is the only way to prove how noble their status is. The royal family has always had bad practices, not to mention this Qingshao Kingdom is a big kingdom, so it has always been like this. The corners of Baili Hongzhuang's lips curled slightly. She expected this kind of waiting. Even in Fengbui Kingdom, which is a small kingdom, the royal family is also the last to appear. Isn't it just a royal family? What's the big deal? Xiao Bai curled his lips. It was merely a royal family, and their arrogance was so huge. The arc of Baili Hongzhuang's lips widened a bit. If anyone heard Xiao Bai's remarks, their jaw would drop in shock. The royal family of a big kingdom is a great entity. However, she also understood Xiao Bai's thoughts. In fact, in her previous life she never had the royal family in her considerations at all. With the power of the Baili family, she could destroy a dynasty with just one thought. Of course, in this life she likewise didn't take all this seriously, but right now she does not have that kind of power. Baisher nestled in Baili Hongzhuang's arms, its pair of soulful eyes constantly surveying the surroundings. It's a pity that it has no chance to fight with its wisdom and martial arts. However, it is said that Nangong Aochen also has a monster beast, so it might have a chance to play. Thinking of this, Baisher couldn't help but get excited. It finally had a chance to show its might. This group of uneducated fools always treats it like an ornamental beast. What a joke. He's a majestic beast king, okay? He wanted to take advantage of today to let these guys understand how powerful he is. Baili Hongzhuang stroked Baisher's fur. She knew that this little guy couldn't help but want to express his thoughts. Speaking of which, Baisher, Beastmaster, has always been misunderstood by everyone. This must be unacceptable to this little guy. If he has the opportunity, he wanted to make a name for himself. Huan Chuyu had already rejoined Jian Qingqiu, but the faces of Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi no longer reflect yesterday's arrogance and disdain. Although Baili Hongzhuang didn't know how Huan Chuyu resolved yesterday's incident, she believed that Huan Chuyu must have gained certain benefits for Kanglin Academy. Chapter 835, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor Unscrupulous Consort, have you seen him? However, the damage was done, and even though Wei Hanyun has disappeared, the interested parties knew the truth of the matter. As a result, the reputations of Lingyin Academy and Beihai Academy had been greatly affected. Lu Jingqi recovered and looked at Xia Jiqing with resentment. She previously resented Xia Jiqing, but now hates Xia Jiqing even more. However, she is not Xia Jiqing's opponent in terms of strength, so she can only use the gaze in her eyes to express her anger. In response, Xia Jiqing unconcernedly adjusted her hair, and a simple sentence left Lu Jingqi speechless: defeated enemy. After Xia Jiqing said this, she didn't even look at Lu Jingqi. Obviously, Lu Jingqi no longer posed any threat to her, so she didn't even look at her. The crowd did not have to wait long before the emperor of Qingshao Kingdom, Nangong Oui, walked over surrounded by the crowd. Everyone present stood up and bowed to him. Nangong Oui was about 45 years old, his handsome and cold face was filled with an emperor's majesty. His eyes were sharp and wise, as if just one look was full of infinite power. Despite showing the faint smile on his face, people could still not relax. The aura created over the years was evident with his every movement. The bright yellow gold robe was like a dazzling light, causing everyone to feel awe. Beside Nangong Oui, Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yuer also appeared, and beside the two of them, there was a handsome man who was particularly eye-catching. The man was wearing a light yellow luxurious brocade suit, with auspicious symbols woven with golden threads all over it, evincing a rich nobility. Obviously, this man is the crown prince of the Qingshao Kingdom, Nangong Aochen. Nangong Aochen's face was handsome and cold, perhaps due to his identity as the crown prince. His face always reflected seriousness, but this may just be his masculinity. The eyes of many women in the audience were attracted by Nangong Aochen. Nangong Aochen could be called the beloved of all the women in the Qingshao Kingdom, and the pride of the entire Qingshao Kingdom. Almost all the women hope that one day Nangong Aochen will look at them, but Nangong Aochen is completely different from Nangong Yujin. Nangong Yujin is a master of debauchery. Nangong Aochen devoted almost all his time and energy to business, and he didn't care about women. It was precisely because of Nangong Aochen's indifference that countless women wanted to throw themselves into his arms. This Nangong Aochen really looks very good. He looks handsome, and you can tell at a glance that he is not the same as Nangong Yujin. Zhang Yunfeng said as he looked at Nangong Aochen. He had heard about Nangong Aochen's great reputation earlier. Today he saw Nangong Aochen's person. Cui Haoyan raised his brows slightly, and directly put his arm around Zhang Yunfeng's shoulder. What? Have you taken a fancy to Nangong Aochen? As soon as these words came out, the eyes of Baili Hongzhuang and others fell on Cui Haoyan. Zhang Yunfeng and Cui Haoyan had become a pair since the monster beast frenzy, but they had never seen Cui Haoyan say such explicit things. Ah. Zhang Yunfeng froze for a moment, and after feeling Cui Haoyan's burning gaze, he blushed slightly and he said, I haven't. Finals, the three academies. Seeing this scene, everyone smiled and looked at Zhang Yunfeng teasingly. What are you looking at me like that for? Zhang Yunfeng blushed and couldn't help but be annoyed. Baili Hongzhuang chucked and shrugged. I just think you look good today and wanted to look at you more. Hee hee. Xia Jiqing also laughed. This is the first time I've seen you guys show your love so blatantly. Yunfeng, from now on, you can't say that other men are good in front of Cui Haoyan, or he will be jealous. As soon as these words came out, Zhang Yunfeng blushed even more, and looked at Xia Jiqing in embarrassment. As for Cui Haoyan's appearance, it was as if he had already surrendered, he didn't mind at all. Haha. Everyone laughed. They only had heartfelt blessings for Zhang Yunfeng and Cui Haoyan. Zhang Yunfeng beat Cui Haoyan with her pink fist. Cui Haoyan's appearance made her feel helpless. While everyone was laughing, Nangong Oi had already sat down on his seat with a faint smile on his handsome and majestic face. As the Emperor of Qingshao Kingdom, I feel very honored that the exchange meeting of the three academies is being held here. I hope that the finalists can perform well. Nangong Oi just said those few words and sat down. The purpose of coming here today is entirely to observe Nangong Aochen's performance. The entire royal competition arena was very quiet, and it was only after Nangong Oi sat down that it relaxed slightly. With Nangong Oi present, there was always a little more restraint and caution. After Nangong Aochen said something to Nangong Oi, he, Nangong Yujin, and Nangong Yuer walked to the Lingyin Academy team. Today they were not representing the royal family, but the students of Lingyin Academy. I wonder if Nangong Aochen has found out who assassinated Nangong Xiujia? Xia Jiqing couldn't help saying after she suddenly thought of Nangong Xiujia. Everyone thought for a moment the death of Nangong Xiujia might be a very sensitive matter in Qingshao Kingdom, but Nangong Oi's face did not reveal any clues. My guess is that they can't figure it out. If he didn't think of a perfect plan, that person wouldn't dare to assassinate Nangong Xiujia. Bai Junyu said slowly, I don't see any sadness on the Emperor of Qingshao Kingdom's face. The assassination of Nangong Xiujia is already a great disgrace for the royal family, and the Emperor will naturally not reveal it. Gong Shaoqing's eyes shone with wisdom. However, with the inconsistent affection in the royal family, his death is just a pretense and maybe he really doesn't care. Hearing this, everyone nodded in sympathy. The cold-bloodedness of royal family members is well known. There are an unknown number siblings who have been assassinated for the throne. It is not easy to grow up safely in the royal family. Thinking about it, the princes and princesses of Nangong Oi must not be small in number. The death of Nangong Xiujia is only a pity and a short-term sadness. It will not have much impact. This is the sorrow of being a royal family member. Jian Qingqiu stood up slowly and swept his gaze over the surrounding crowd before opening his mouth. Today is the final of the exchange competition of the three major academies. There are 4 contestants. Lingyin Academy, Nangong Aochen. Beihai Academy, Xiaolanmei. Kenglin Academy, Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing. Brother, avenge me. Although this result had been widely circulated in Qingshao Kingdom 2 days ago, many people still didn't know about it. When they heard that the least favored Kenglin Academy had 2 places, the audience was still surprised. In the previous academy exchange meetings, Lingyin Academy was the champion, but now Lingyin Academy only had Nangong Aochen in the finals, and Nangong Aochen has entered the finals without fighting. For a while, there were significantly more gazes on the Kenglin Academy cultivators, but they were still confident. The mere existence of Nangong Aochen had already determined the outcome of this final. Brother, that woman is Baili Hongzhuang. Nangong Yuer said to Nangong Aochen as she pointed at Baili Hongzhuang, who she still absolutely hates. Although she was defeated by Baili Hongzhuang, what kind of person is Nangong Aochen? As long as Nangong Aochen strikes, Baili Hongzhuang will only fail. Brother, you must avenge me. Nangong Yuer had an angry look on her face. Since she was a child, no one has dared to hurt her like that. She wants Baili Hongzhuang to die. Hearing this, Nangong Aochen glanced at Nangong Yuer, and then his eyes fell on Baili Hongzhuang. Amazement flashed across the calm gaze after landing on Baili Hongzhuang, but it soon returned to calm. Brother, this Baili Hongzhuang's strength is indeed good, but she dared to humiliate second brother like that. You must deal with her. Nangong Yujin also said aloud. His relationship with Nangong Xiujia had always been very good. Although Baili Hongzhuang had nothing to do with Nangong Xiujia's death, he couldn't bear to see how Baili Hongzhuang had humiliated Nangong Xiujia. This debt must be repaid. However, in the face of Nangong Yuer and Nangong Yujin's indignant expressions, Nangong Aochen's face remained serious, but did not show any anger. I will defend the dignity of the royal family, but you both know what you did. Nangong Aochen's words were filled with warning. He couldn't be clearer about Nangong Yujin's regular behavior. Since Nangong Xiujia was assassinated, he also understood clearly what happened to Baili Hongzhuang and Nangong Xiujia at the first floor. In fact, the initial cause of this matter was entirely instigated by the Nangong Xiujia duo, and the cultivators of Kanglin Academy were merely victims. Moreover, Dong Fengyu of Kanglin Academy has not appeared again, no doubt because Nangong Xiujia destroyed his self-confidence. If Nangong Xiujia hadn't gone so far, Baili Hongzhuang would not have humiliated Nangong Xiujia. Listening to Nangong Aochen's words of reprimand, Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yuer's expressions were somewhat ugly. They also clearly understand Nangong Aochen's character. They have always been viewed as part of the group and not as relatives. It is because of this that it is difficult for them to get close to Nangong Aochen. However, Baili Hongzhuang's humiliation of Nangong Xiujia is an insult to the dignity of the royal family. Nangong Aochen will not let Baili Hongzhuang go. They just need to know this and that is enough. Sensing Nangong Aochen's gaze, Baili Hongzhuang did not shy away from it. The two gazes met in midair, sparks flashing, and returned to indifference after understanding. Baili Hongzhuang felt calmness in Nangong Aochen's gaze. The gentleman was open and honest, without hiding anything. Wonderful lottery result. At that moment, Baili Hongzhuang also understood what Mo Yunjue meant about Nangong Aochen being a gentleman, and thought that this Nangong Aochen was probably the calmest person she had ever met so far. His eyes were clear and peaceful, without the slightest obscurity or concealment, like a black chrysanthemum, indifferent but fair. It seems that the rumors about Qingshao Kingdom were not wrong. Nangong Aochen is indeed the most outstanding prince of Qingshao Kingdom. The 4 participants in the final will take turns fighting each other, and the one who wins the most times will be in the final. There is no rest time during the competition, so it is best to stop as soon as possible. Jian Qingqiu slowly explained the rules of the final to everyone. Each of the 4 including Baili Hongzhuang will fight against the other 3 in turn. This method is the fairest, reducing the possibility of opportunism. Now, the 4 students will come up to the stage to draw lots to determine the order of the competition. Following Jian Qingqiu's words, Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing walked towards the 3 principals. Baili Hongzhuang slowly drew out a slip of paper, on which was written the word, 1. It seemed that she would be the first to enter the competition. Baili Hongzhuang wasn't worried about her number, she would fight the 3 of them one by one in the end anyway. It didn't matter which round she started with. However, when Baili Hongzhuang knew that her first opponent was Gong Shaoqing, a trace of dismay appeared in her eyes. The probability of this is really low. When Gong Shaoqing knew that his first opponent was Baili Hongzhuang, a faint smile appeared in his eyes. No way, the 2 of you turned out to be opponents in the first match? What should we do? Xia Jiqing was stunned. The best result would be for Gong Shaoqing and Baili Hongzhuang to meet in the last match, but they did not expect to meet in the first match. It was really troublesome. Cui Haoyin and the others obviously did not expect such a situation. Since Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing are both students of Kanglin Academy, it would naturally be best to not fight. It's just that the Academy Exchange competition has a lot of gold rewards. If they can perform well in this exchange competition, it will be of great help to their future. Academy aside, everyone wants to win first place and become famous. In the past, the first place winners in the Academy Exchange competition all became famous, had bright futures, and many forces directly offered olive branches. It is precisely because of this that they couldn't say anything. In the first match, Kanglin Academy's Baili Hongzhuang versus Kanglin Academy's Gong Shaoqing. The referee's loud voice clearly reached everyone's ears in the royal competition arena. When the crowd heard the news, their expressions grew excited. Kanglin Academy seems to have bad luck. The first round is the battle between the cultivators of their own academy. If you don't fight, the student who admits defeat will definitely be viewed as questionable. No one is willing to lose such a good opportunity. If you do, you will undoubtedly consume the fighting power of your own academy, and you will be at a disadvantage when you fight against the other 2 academies later. The person who wins the first place will be the prince, it doesn't matter what they do. When Lu Huayin found out the result of the lottery, he was a little speechless. From the perspective of the academy, he naturally hoped that Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing would not consume the combat power of their academy. From a personal perspective, this was indeed a good opportunity. Chapter 839, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor Unscrupulous Consort I Forfeit. Baili Hongzhuang's mind was full, she would never fight Gong Shaoqing. This would only reduce the chance of Kanglin Academy winning. She didn't care about becoming famous. If she conceded, Gong Shaoqing might have a chance of winning as long as she could defeat Xiaolanmei and Nangong Aochen. However, she does not have absolute confidence against Nangong Aochen, because Nangong Aochen's strength is not to be underestimated. Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing stepped onto the high platform under the watchful eyes of the crowd. The moment they stepped onto the high platform, all the attention was on them. Curious gazes fell on the two. They all wanted to know whether Baili Hongzhuang and the other would make a move. The competition begins. The referee gave an order and waved his hand, starting the competition. Baili Hongzhuang's red lips parted slightly. This competition. Not waiting for Baili Hongzhuang to finish speaking, Gong Shaoqing's voice rang out, "I forfeit." As soon as these words came out, everyone was in an uproar. They thought that Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing might battle immediately regardless of the overall situation. Now it seems that neither Baili Hongzhuang nor Gong Shaoqing is that kind of person. Kanglin Academy has good luck this time. Baili Hongzhuang looked at Gong Shaoqing with a little surprise. She did not expect Gong Shaoqing to forfeit immediately also. After all, this kind of honor is very important for the continuation of a cultivator's path. Gong Shaoqing's handsome face was a bit carefree. In fact, he was shocked when he saw that Baili Hongzhuang was about to forfeit. It was very clear to him that with his strength it would be impossible for him to win, and Baili Hongzhuang is the Kanglin Academy's best hope. As long as Baili Hongzhuang wins this battle without any yuanli consumption, it will be of great help to her. Although he values his own future as a member of Kanglin Academy, he hoped to help Kanglin Academy out of its current predicament. If even Baili Hongzhuang was willing to give up for this, then naturally he would do the same. Seeing the actions of Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing, everyone in Kanglin Academy was very moved. They understood when both were about to forfeit that both knew what they were willing to give up. At that moment they admired Gong Shaoqing deeply. Although he conceded defeat this time, Gong Shaoqing was a richly deserved hero of Kanglin Academy. The gazes of Lu Huayin and Huan Chuyu were also slightly complicated, but judging from the current situation, this was indeed the best path. The referee was not surprised by this result. In fact, there were quite a few people who chose to forfeit in previous academy exchange matches against cultivators from the same academy. Kanglin Academy Baili Hongzhuang wins. With the referee's announcement, Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing looked at each other, smiled, and walked off the competition stage together. The onlookers didn't feel that there was anything wrong with this. The battles between students of the same academy in exchange matches is not worth watching, and it would be great to start the second match earlier. Nangong Aochen looked at Baili Hongzhuang with a hint of surprise in his eyes. He also had a certain understanding of Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing's situation. No matter whose point of view it is, Baili Hongzhuang is stronger than Gong Shaoqing. If a person was Baili Hongzhuang, it would be impossible to choose to forfeit. Chapter 844 Contract Beast, Flame Lion. Although Xiaolanmei's concession caused a lot of discussion, with the start of the third match the entire royal arena became quiet again. Third match, Nangong Aochen vs Gong Shaoqing. Hearing this, Baili Hongzhuang and others' eyes fell on Gong Shaoqing. This was a battle without much suspense. Even though Gong Shaoqing successfully broke through to the Red Realm, it still pales in comparison to Nangong Aochen's 5th level strength in the Red Realm. It's not that Gong Shaoqing's strength is not strong enough, but Nangong Aochen is really too perverted. After all, their cultivation conditions are not as good as Nangong Aochen, which is the reason for the cultivation gap. Gong Shaoqing, go for it. Baili Hongzhuang had a faint smile on her face. Even if it couldn't change the result, the competition was still a way to gain experience. Fighting against the strong often allows them to understand more about the power of the strong, which will be of great help for their cultivation. In her previous life, she competed with the masters of the family from time to time. From the initial route to later being able to persevere, this kind of progress often makes people feel more accomplishment. For cultivators, mindset is extremely important. Failure is not terrible, every cultivator will fail on the road forward. What is terrible is not daring to face failure. Go for it. Just show the Kanglin Academy spirit. Cui Haoyan shouted. In this case it was difficult knowing it would be a loss, but they wanted to encourage Gong Shaoqing, so they could only offer such encouragement. Feeling everyone's goodwill, Gong Shaoqing's iceberg-like face also melted a bit. Don't worry, I will do my best. After coming to Lingyin Academy and seeing the strength of Nangong Xiujia and others, he understood that although he was quite famous at Kanglin Academy, there was still a big gap with other cultivators. In fact, it is not without reason that Kanglin Academy has been at the bottom in the last 2 academy exchange competitions. With harder conditions, Kanglin Academy does have a considerable gap with the other 2 major academies. If Baili Hongzhuang hadn't had a chance to change the rankings, he wouldn't have been able to help Kanglin Academy regain its honor. His mood had been depressed and helpless, but he had finally returned to the current calm. It is not terrible to lag behind as long as he continues to work hard. It is not impossible to close these gaps in the future. The phrase, give up, did not exist in Gong Shaoqing's dictionary. I'm going. After he said this, Gong Shaoqing immediately walked to the high platform. Lu Qingyue looked at Gong Shaoqing's back as he left, wanting to say something but unable to say anything in the end. No matter what, Gong Shaoqing will always be the hero of her heart. Nangong Aochen stood on the competition stage again. Beside him, a flame lion was looking at Gong Shaoqing aggressively. My God, this is the contracted beast of His Royal Highness, the Flame Lion. I heard that the Flame Lion has the strength of the 5th level of the Red Realm. Ordinary contracted beasts are no match for the Flame Lion. Does His Highness the Crown Prince need to do anything himself? As long as the Flame Lion makes a move, Gong Shaoqing has already failed. Everyone's eyes were attracted by the majestic Flame Lion. They saw that the beast had red flaming hair all over its body. It was a lion with the attribute of fire, and its attack power was also very powerful. The royal family had spent a lot of effort to help Nangong Aochen find this flame lion. Thank you for reading on my tip novel. Chapter 845. It's just a little lion. Baili Hongzhuang's gaze also fell on the flame lion. The flame lion is an excellent breed amongst demon pets, and it is not easy to contract the flame lion. It is difficult to find the flame lion cub alone, and it is even more difficult to seal the flame lion cub into an egg. This shows how rare Nangong Aochen's flame lion cub was. It's just a little lion, what's there to be proud of? Xiao He curled his lips, with an expression of indifference. This kind of guy can be killed in a matter of minutes? Xiao Bai nodded. The monkey reigns when the tiger is not at home. One. This kind of guy can only be proud in this type of backcountry. Baili Hongzhuang listened to Xiao He and Xiao Bai's attitude, with a faint smile on the corners of her lips. The mouth on these 2 guys is really not small. Master, when you fight Nangong Aochen later, send me onto the field and I'll instantly kill that little lion. Xiao He's eyes flashed with excitement. He hadn't made a move for so long, his hands were itchy. Although the current master's strength is still not strong, it should be okay to expose the relationship with Xiao Bai. Before Baili Hongzhuang could speak, Bai Shi already protested. If you want to go on, there's also me. It has been waiting for this opportunity to clear its name. Hearing this, Xiao He and Xiao Bai also smiled. Since this is a good opportunity for Bai Shi to clear his name, they won't compete with the white lion. After Gong Shaoqing saw the flame lion beside Nangong Aochen, his eyes also changed a bit. Feeling out a little with his senses, Gong Shaoqing knew that the flame lion's strength was not weak, and there was a bit of fluctuation in his heart. The royal family's heritage is indeed beyond that of ordinary people. This flame lion is not very old but has already reached the 5th level of cultivation in the Red Realm. So many cultivation resources have been spent just to improve the strength of the flame lion. It really shows how rich and powerful they are. The competition begins. After the referee's order, Nangong Aochen and Gong Shaoqing didn't make a move immediately. Nangong Aochen looked at Gong Shaoqing. According to his understanding, Gong Shaoqing was still in the late stage of Shintian 2 realm, so he was not a match with him at all. Once he took action, it would be a complete rout, so he was not anxious at all. Since you don't have a contracted beast, my contracted beast won't make a move. Nangong Aochen said slowly. With such an absolute disparity in strength, there was no need for the flame lion to participate in the battle. Whatever. Gong Shaoqing's attitude was as cold as ever, and to him, whether Nangong Aochen used the contracted beast or not didn't make any difference. Hearing Gong Shaoqing's answer, Nangong Aochen was a little surprised. Logically speaking, an ordinary cultivator should be very flustered in such a situation, but he couldn't feel any such emotion at all from Gong Shaoqing. On the contrary, Gong Shaoqing's indifferent attitude was very strange. Make your move. Gong Shaoqing did not delay. He knew that even if he exploded with all his power to fight with Nangong Aochen, he might not be able to achieve any results, because the strength gap between the two was too great. However, even so, he would still try his best. If even a small amount of Nangong Aochen's power can be consumed, it will be that much easier for Baili Hongzhuang to deal with Nangong Aochen. This is his only thought after stepping onto the arena. Everything else is no longer important. Thank you for reading on my tip novel. Chapter 846 Fight, Gong Shaoqing. Seeing that Gong Shaoqing was so fast, Nangong Aochen didn't waste any more time. The Yuanli in his body surged in an instant, and powerful energy surged out without any effort. Taking a step forward, Nangong Aochen suddenly punched out. The sharp wind from his fist smashed through the air, creating a sonic boom. Sensing the power of Nangong Aochen's fist, Gong Shaoqing's heart shuddered. An expert will know as soon as he made a move. Although he had long understood the gap between two realms, he couldn't help being amazed after Nangong Aochen made a move. The seemingly simple punch came with the feeling of invincibility. If he hit it head-on, he was afraid that his hand would be ruined. Gong Shaoqing leaped up immediately and dodged Nangong Aochen's fist. At the same time, he punched Nangong Aochen's chest with a tricky arc. Nangong Aochen's speed was also extremely fast as he dodged sideways and attacked Gong Shaoqing again with fierce fists. Watching the battle between Gong Shaoqing and Nangong Aochen, everyone thought it was like a game of cat and mouse. What the hell? Are the students of Kanglin Academy turtles? They're hiding all the time and don't even have the courage to fight head-to-head. No matter how good that Gong Shaoqing is at hiding, once His Royal Highness finds an opportunity, he will definitely lose. There is a big gap in cultivation between Gong Shaoqing and His Royal Highness, and the fact that he has been able to dodge until now is proof of his strength. There are also many discerning people among the onlookers. From the moment Gong Shaoqing and Nangong Aochen's auras erupted, they already understood that this was a contest with a great disparity in strength. Gong Shaoqing can't fight head-to-head at all because once he does, he will definitely lose this battle. Dodging is the only way. And it is this kind of evasion that also demonstrates Gong Shaoqing's fighting skills and shows his strength as much as possible under such limitations. Although there is a certain gap in the strength of Kanglin Academy's Gong Shaoqing, he is very smart and has a solid foundation. As long as he is given a certain amount of time, his future will not be bad. People with discerning eyes have already seen Gong Shaoqing's purpose. Appreciation appeared in their eyes. Cultivation can be improved, and at Gong Shaoqing's age, there is a lot of room for improvement in the future. Baili Hongzhuang's eyes were fixed on the high platform. Gong Shaoqing's strength was clearly displayed, but Nangong Aochen's strength was indeed very strong. In her opinion, this Nangong Aochen is indeed a gentleman. Nangong Aochen's previous attacks were not violent. He was deliberately giving Gong Shaoqing a chance to perform. After all, it is not easy for every cultivator to reach this stage. Since Gong Shaoqing has the courage to participate in the competition, he should be given a chance to perform. But now, Nangong Aochen's attacks have become more and more violent, and Gong Shaoqing is in danger. The slightest mistake will lead to defeat. Lu Qinyue's hands were clasped, her pretty face was full of worry. She was afraid that Gong Shaoqing would be seriously injured if he was not careful. Xia Ziqing and the others also fell silent at that moment. Gong Shaoqing's power was strong in their eyes. But in front of Nangong Aochen, Gong Shaoqing still had no room to fight back. The huge difference in power between the two is clear. So, it seems that it may be very difficult for them to come back in this final. Thank you for reading on my tip novel. Chapter 847 It's Over Scoff. A strong wind slashed by, and Gong Shaoqing's pupils reflected a huge fist rapidly approaching. It was too late to escape. Gong Shaoqing felt helpless. This competition was coming to an end. However, that fist stopped in front of Gong Shaoqing's forehead, and at the same time Nangong Aochen's voice rang out. It's over. Nangong Aochen slowly withdrew his fist, his face still calm and serious. To him, defeating Gong Shaoqing was nothing to be proud about. If it wasn't because his opponent was a participant in the Academy Exchange competition, he would never have fought against Gong Shaoqing. Gong Shaoqing's expression was also very indifferent. He understood Nangong Aochen's arrogance. In fact, he was indeed not qualified to be Nangong Aochen's opponent. However, he was not discouraged by this. On the contrary, this will be his motivation. If you want your opponent to respect you, you first need to have the qualifications to make your opponent respect you. Nangong Aochen of Lingyin Academy wins. The referee announced the result without hesitation, and cheers arose throughout the stands. Nangong Aochan is their pride. Immediately after Nangong Aochan defeated the opponent, they were also somewhat surprised. Because while Gong Shaoqing slowly walked back to the team, Nangong Aochan was still standing on the high platform. The next competition was still his. Good job. Cui Haoyan immediately patted Gong Shaoqing's chest and expressed his admiration. In fact, if it were him it would be impossible for him to last so long against Nangong Aochan. Gong Shaoqing was defeated but still proud. Xia Jiqing and the others also smiled. They had no regrets after being able to make it this far. Nangong Aochan is very strong. Even though I tried my best, he still was not serious. You have to be careful. Gong Shaoqing's eyes were filled with concern. Baili Hongzhuang is different from him. He knew that Hongzhuang was still thinking of fighting. Although he felt that her chances were low, it has always been a good opportunity to fight hard on the competition stage. How will you know how strong you were if you don't work hard? He actually tried his best, but the difference in power between the two was too great, so it was useless for him to try his best. But the gap between Baili Hongzhuang and Nangong Aochan is smaller. Baili Hongzhuang nodded slightly. I understand. The exquisite and beautiful face was dignified and serious. She had never underestimated Nangong Aochan, and he must have a lot of cards up his sleeves. However, she will try her best as well. Compared with Nangong Aochan, Kanglin Academy needs victory more. She did not know what the final result of this competition will be, but she won't let Nangong Aochan win easily. Jian Qingqiu's face was full of pride. Nangong Aochan can be called the most outstanding student of Lingyin Academy in recent years. He really is one in a million. The first 2 days of the preliminary competition and the alchemy competition already made him unhappy. It wasn't until Nangong Aochan's crushing victories today that a smile appeared on his face. No matter how Kanglin Academy tries to change the situation, the final victor will be Lingyin Academy. Although the results of the alchemy competition have a certain value, they are completely different from those of the cultivator competition. Nangong Oui also showed a satisfied smile after seeing Nangong Aochan's performance. Nangong Aochan is the prince he is most satisfied with. This strategy demonstrates his rank, but it can also win the heart of the people. He is very satisfied. Thank you for reading on my tip novel. Chapter 848 on the stage Baili Hongzhuang. In the third round, Nangong Aochan of Lingyin Academy will face off against Baili Hongzhuang of Kanglin Academy. As soon as these words came out, the gazes of the crowd fell on Baili Hongzhuang, an unusually attractive woman. She had garnered the attention of many people in the first moment that she appeared in the royal competition arena. Nangong Aochan's gaze also fell on Baili Hongzhuang. A light flashed quietly in his eyes. He was finally going to fight Baili Hongzhuang. Nangong Oui also looked at Baili Hongzhuang. He also understood Baili Hongzhuang's humiliation of Nangong Xiujia. This matter has already involved the face of the royal family, and his feelings towards Baili Hongzhuang were bad, but he never thought that Baili Hongzhuang would be such a distinguished-looking little girl. He knew that the reason why Baili Hongzhuang did that was because Nangong Xiujia had gone too far, but he didn't care about that at all. No matter who it is, if they do something that insults the dignity of the Qingshao Kingdom's royal family, they must pay the price. When they knew that it was Baili Hongzhuang's turn to fight, Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yuer had hideous smiles on their faces. Baili Hongzhuang was so arrogant before, but let's see if she can continue to be so arrogant. Nangong Yuer's smile was a bit smug. She hated Baili Hongzhuang to the bone, and it just so happened that what Baili Hongzhuang had done earlier went against the dignity of the royal family, so her father had ordered that Baili Hongzhuang be taught a lesson. She believed that it was impossible for Nangong Aochan to disobey their father's order, so Baili Hongzhuang would suffer bitterly today. Nangong Aochan should teach Baili Hongzhuang a lesson, so that she will know the height of the heavens or the depth of the earth one. Nangong Yujin narrowed his eyes slightly. Because of Baili Hongzhuang, he was reprimanded by his father, and Nangong Xiujia, who had the best relationship with him, also died. He really hoped that Baili Hongzhuang would also disappear from this world. Let's just wait for the show. Nangong Yuer's expression relaxed slightly. The outcome of this competition was already set in stone. All they needed to see was how badly Baili Hongzhuang would lose. Hongzhuang, go for it. Xia Jiqing yelled, pumping her fists. Baili Hongzhuang nodded slightly. I will. Everyone cheered for Baili Hongzhuang. Baili Hongzhuang is Kanglin Academy's greatest hope. However, just as Baili Hongzhuang was about to walk to the competition arena, Lu Huayan's voice rang out. Baili Hongzhuang, Although the result of this competition is important, it's not as important as you yourself. Do you understand? Lu Huayan's eyes flashed with worry. He really appreciated and admired this student, Baili Hongzhuang. Cultivator, doctor, alchemist, and inscription master. These four identities converged on Baili Hongzhuang, and she can no longer be described with just the word genius. Although this competition is very important to Kanglin Academy, the Kanglin Academy's focus has always been student-centered. Students are the most important, and the existence of the academy is for the growth of students. If students are allowed to give up everything just for the reputation of the academy, it would put the cart before the horse too. The dark and bright phoenix eyes revealed a touch of surprise. Baili Hongzhuang looked at Lu Huayan, and slowly revealed a smile. That is also the wish of the vice principal. Lu Huayan said again. Baili Hongzhuang's eyes changed slightly, and a touch of emotion spread in her heart. She nodded, I understand. Thank you for reading on Wuxia World. You. Chapter 849 Strong Killing Intent. No one knew that when Lu Huayan said these words, Xiaolanmei's eyes changed slightly. Baili Hongzhuang slowly walked up to the competition stage and stood opposite Nangong Aochin. Her exquisite and stunning face still showed indifference and detachment. She didn't have a positive impression of members of the royal family. In fact, all of the members of the royal family were somewhat self-righteous. Even if Nangong Aochin showed the appearance of a gentleman, she didn't sense this even a little bit. Baili Hongzhuang. Nangong Aochin's gaze fell on Baili Hongzhuang as he slowly said Baili Hongzhuang's name. When you humiliated Nangong Xiujie, you should know that you touched the face one of Qingshao Kingdom's royal family. Nangong Aochin's voice was low and his eyes were sharp. No one is allowed to sully the dignity of the royal family. Baili Hongzhuang's expression remained unchanged, the corners of her lips hooked up in a mocking smile. Only officials are allowed to set fires, while the common people are not allowed to light lamps too. You speak so eloquently. She is no stranger to the dignified face shown by the royal family. Baili Hongzhuang often faced such tricks in Fengbui Kingdom and has long been used to it. Hearing Baili Hongzhuang's blatant provocation, Nangong Aochin was slightly embarrassed. Everyone knows that what Baili Hongzhuang said was the truth. Now that the royal family is investigating the assassination of Nangong Xiujie, the matter of Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin harassing Baili Hongzhuang and Lu Qinyue at the first floor is no longer a secret. In other words, from beginning to end it was Nangong Xiujie who provoked the cultivators of Kanglin Academy, while Baili Hongzhuang and others responded passively. However, insulting the dignity of the royal family is insulting the dignity of the royal family. No matter what the reason is, it is unforgivable. No matter what, you cannot provoke the dignity of the Qingshao Kingdom royal family. Nangong Aochin's voice was slightly cold. What Baili Hongzhuang said at this moment was already disrespectful. Nangong Oi's majestic face flashed with a touch of anger. Today, Nangong Aochin was prepared to take this opportunity to restore the dignity of the royal family. If Baili Hongzhuang knew how to behave it would be fine, but Baili Hongzhuang still had such an attitude so he couldn't let it go. Nangong Aochin's gaze turned slightly, and he quietly glanced at Nangong Oi. After seeing Nangong Oi's eyes, he immediately understood. In the next moment, Baili Hongzhuang clearly felt the murderous aura emanating from Nangong Aochin. Her phoenix eyes narrowed slightly. Nangong Aochin actually had murderous intentions towards her. Judging from the previous actions, Nangong Aochin originally did not intend to kill her, but now he actually showed killing intent towards her. She is sure that this is Nangong Oi's idea. 4 intolerant royals, stains are not allowed to exist, she must be completely obliterated. Perhaps on other occasions Nangong Aochin is not suitable for this, but in this case, Nangong Aochin is not under any pressure. 3 Even if he kills Baili Hongzhuang he only needs to say he made a mistake. Everyone will know that the truth is that this is a demonstration by the royal family. A cold light appeared in Baili Hongzhuang's eyes. It seems that the situation is no longer as simple as everyone thought. This competition is probably a fight to the death. The crowd only felt that the atmosphere between Baili Hongzhuang and Nangong Aochin suddenly became serious. They did not know about the murderous intent surging between them. Thank you for reading on Wuxia World. You. Chapter 850 Kill Directly. Isn't this just a bullshit royal family? He's so full of himself. 1. "Master, let's kill Nangong Aochen, the heir to the royal family." A cold light flashed in Xiaohei's eyes. If Nangong Aochen's attitude was good it would be fine, but this attitude is simply inexcusable. No matter how you look at it, this is Nangong Xiujia's problem, and has nothing to do with the master. It is really disgusting that the royal family puts on such a sanctimonious appearance. It's okay to kill, but it can't be done in plain sight. Baili Hongzhuang's phoenix eyes narrowed slightly, her face was covered with frost. An eye for an eye. Too, since Nangong Aochen has the heart to kill her, he should be prepared to be killed by her. It's just that in this royal arena, in full view of everyone, she can't do it. Because they are now in Qingshao Kingdom. Once Nangong Aochen falls, the entire Kanglin Academy would be implicated. If it was just her, leaving Qingshao Kingdom wouldn't be a big deal, but Kanglin Academy wouldn't be able to escape. Baili Hongzhuang raised her chin slightly and looked at Nangong Aochen coldly. "Let's fight. Since it is unavoidable, let's fight." There was also a hint of coldness in Nangong Aochen's eyes. As an adult of the royal family, he must obliterate the existence of all those who insult the dignity of the royal family. Doubt flashed in the eyes of Huan Chuyu and the others. Although the issue between Baili Hongzhuang and Nangong Xiujia has some impact, the atmosphere between the two was too serious. The competition begins. With the referee's order, Baili Hongzhuang and Nangong Aochen started the battle. The white lion jumped down from Baili Hongzhuang's arms, his little body stared at the flame lion beside Nangong Aochen. "Damn guy, how dare he want to kill his master, he will destroy this flame lion opponent first." Nangong Aochen couldn't help but be a little amused after seeing the ornamental contract beast in Baili Hongzhuang's arms also participating in the battle. The flame lion's mouth can easily bite off the neck of this little guy. However, he also understood Baili Hongzhuang's reason for doing this. Since Baili Hongzhuang was already going to die, there was no reason why this contract beast shouldn't participate in the battle. When the audience saw the white lion confronting the flame lion, they couldn't help laughing out loud. "Haha, this little guy also came to fight, the flame lion is 10 times bigger. Are the people from Kanglin Academy here just to make jokes? If this little guy can withstand a blow from the flaming lion, I'll eat this chair." Almost everyone was laughing, this was just too humiliating. Xia Jiqing and the others were also stunned. Although Baili Hongzhuang normally always hugged the white lion, they had never seen the white lion fight. Thinking of the tyrannical strength of the flame lion, the white lion might die immediately on this competition arena. They didn't understand why Baili Hongzhuang would do this. Only Mo Yunjue in the stands had a glint of understanding in his eyes. The power inside this little guy is beyond everyone's comprehension. You're quite enlightened. Nangong Aochen also had a touch of admiration for Baili Hongzhuang. He didn't know whether it was self-confidence or ignorance, but she still didn't show any panic before death. Baili Hongzhuang coldly glanced at Nangong Aochen, her red lips parting slightly. "You lack enlightenment. Thank you for reading on Wuxia World." You. Chapter 851, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. "Genius doctor and scrupulous consort, this kind of thing is useless against me." Nangong Aochen let out a cold snort and stepped forward with the sole of his foot. The energy in his dantian burst out, and a tyrannical pressure spread instantly. The 5th level of the Red Realm. Tyrannical coercion immediately pressed down on Baili Hongzhuang. He didn't use all his strength when fighting Gong Shaoqing, but he wanted a crushing victory to break Baili Hongzhuang. Baili Hongzhuang's phoenix eyes narrowed slightly. After reaching the innate realm, when there is a certain gap between the strength of two cultivators, the coercion of the strong will generate a huge pressure to crush the opponent. Under this coercion, the weaker competitor will also be suppressed and be unable to exert their full combat power. This is the difficulty of leapfrog battles. Ordinary people cannot break through this layer of coercion, and the competitor is eclipsed. Baili Hongzhuang's speed was also limited. The vitality in her body roared out, and the strength of the 3rd level of the Red Realm was revealed. Everyone was a little surprised when they saw that Baili Hongzhuang had reached the 3rd level of the Red Realm at this young age. She deserves the title of genius. If Baili Hongzhuang was the same age as Nangong Aochen, her strength would not be weaker than Nangong Aochen. You can only blame Baili Hongzhuang for being born later. Facing the coercion of Nangong Aochen, Baili Hongzhuang only felt that a huge boulder was pressing on her body, somewhat impacting her combat power. Nangong Aochen looked indifferent. This is the difference between the weak and the strong. There is almost no need to do anything, the weak is already at an impasse. After seeing the Nangong Aochen's arrogance and complacency, Baili Hongzhuang's lips slowly parted into a mocking smile. Baili Hongzhuang's mind moved, and a touch of jade color quietly appeared on her arms, radiant and tough. The next moment, Baili Hongzhuang slammed her right fist towards the coercive pressure. Boom! A dull sound came out, and Nangong Aochen's expression changed instantly. Crackle, there was a slight cracking sound, and then the coercion dissipated like a broken mirror. When they saw this scene, there was a touch of amazement in everyone's eyes. Nangong Aochen's coercion was broken so easily by Baili Hongzhuang. This kind of thing is useless against me, Baili Hongzhuang said indifferently. The strength difference between her and Nangong Aochen was only 2 ranks. This level of coercion would absolutely not suppress her. Nangong Aochen was also a little surprised that just one punch had shattered the coercion. It was clear that the strength of Baili Hongzhuang's fist was amazing. At the same time, a touch of interest quietly appeared in Nangong Aochen's eyes. Among the younger generation of cultivators, he rarely encountered such an interesting person. Immediately after, Nangong Aochen moved, turning into a ray of yellow light sweeping towards Baili Hongzhuang. The distance between the two of them closed instantly. Nangong Aochen turned his right palm into a fist, and without hesitation struck at Baili Hongzhuang's neck. The huge fist was wrapped in a fierce wind and enlarged rapidly in Baili Hongzhuang's view, but Baili Hongzhuang didn't panic. She did not have the slightest intention of avoiding it. She coincidentally wanted to also know how strong she really is now. Just when the fist was about to reach Baili Hongzhuang, she moved. A slim white fist greeted Nangong Aochen fearlessly, actually wanting to go head-to-head. Seeing this scene, almost everyone already foresaw the fate of Baili Hongzhuang's bones being broken. Thank you for reading on Wuxia World. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.